Charan Prabhu is coming here. We are all very, very fortunate. We come here. We means not I. We are all very, very fortunate for inviting Charan Prabhu here. It's our dream. Haribol! Haribol! Haribol!
Something about कर रहे हैं प्रभु जी को तो ये We are so excited. Hare Krishna, we are so excited. We are so excited. We want to get our association. Chaitanya Charan is a spiritual scientist. He is an expert in Bhagavad Gita. We are eagerly waiting for him. Haribol. Thank you.
Only 4, not more than 4. Not more than.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
మాతాజీకి జై. మాతాజీ మాకు ఏం ప్రసాదం చేస్తున్నారు రేపు మాకు?
ఇప్పుడే చెప్తే ఏంటంటే ఇంట్లో మొత్తం తినేసి వచ్చేస్తారా ఇక్కడ?
दाనికి యాపిల్ వాల్నట్ అండ్ డేట్స్ కెన్ బి రెడీ లిటిల్
యాపిల్ వాల్నట్ డేట్
అదేనా अभी तो नहीं लेंगे भैया लास्ट में और इधर से ले सकते हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 कृष्ण
हरि बोल
हरे राम हरे कृष्ण हरे कृष्ण हरे राम हरे राम 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 हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे हरे
Mic.
Grace Chaitanya Charan Prabhu ji ki jai, Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Hare. Let us welcome His Grace Chaitanya Charan Prabhu with three loud and enthusiastic Hari Bol. We are very fortunate to have His Grace Chaitanya Charan Prabhu here. Many of us have grown into our Krishna consciousness hearing to the lectures of Prabhuji. How many here have got at least 5 answers in your life cleared by Prabhuji? Lift your hand. Hare Krishna. So, personally, I also want to say personally that I am very, very inspired by Prabhuji. Earlier, I used to have many different celebrities in my heart. After coming to Krishna consciousness, my celebrities are Radhesham Prabhu, Chaitanya Charan Prabhu, Gauranga Prabhu, and many great Prabhujis and Maharajas in our movement of ISKCON. So it's like a dream come true for me and my family, and I'm sure many of you here, if you please say Hari Bol. It's a dream come true for all of us, for Prabhuji to be here. The SSR courses that we have conducted here, many batches that you all have been part of. Many of the questions that you have seen that we have placed in the course and also answered are actually answered by His Grace Chaitanya Charan Prabhu. Without Prabhuji's, such a great knowledge that he has given through his website, thespiritualscientist.com. Many of our questions would have never been answered in a structured way like Prabhuji has answered. So everybody, please try to make sure there is no space between you and the person in front of you. Right? Not even half inch. Half inch means you are taking unnecessary space. Right? Please come in the front. Please. There are 100 more devotees who are going to come. Yeah. Yeah. Here I can see only this. So you can actually go. It's live on Bhakti Center Gachibowli YouTube channel. You can see the screen there. If you're not able to see it directly, recording is also happening. So I humbly request all Matajis to please come a little in the front. I can see 10 devotees can sit in between. Please come in the front. Yeah, that corner also 20 people can come. Please come in the front because really devotees are going to come and see the whole hall filled and they will have to stand outside. Yeah? So please come in the front. Please come in the front. Hare Krishna. Yeah, you can do more. Don't settle. Come on. No. Because once the lecture starts, I can't come and again tell now is the time. So once again, Prabhuji has started his journey, in Krishna consciousness for more than 3 decades now, and he has dedicated his life and all, his skills in service of Krishna. In entire Christian society, Prabhuji is known for his articles. Then Prabhuji runs a series of lectures which come every day, one quote on Bhagavad Gita. How many have seen the quotes coming into your mailboxes? Hari Bol, very nice. And Prabhuji has written many books, more than 25 books. Actually, Prabhuji has come a little late, so I have already sent the introduction. I am sure you all would have read. So without any more delay, I am going to give the mic to Prabhuji. So the first part of the lecture, Prabhuji will be taking on a topic that we have decided for here. And the second part will be questions and answers. Most of you who have posted your questions, I have taken a print and all those questions are there in front of Prabhuji. May not be all, maybe all answers may not be, maybe all questions may not be addressed today, but sooner or later they will be addressed. We will try to see. And if there is more time, you can ask more questions also. And most importantly, as I was telling in the beginning, questions and answers are for transformation. If you really want to change, you should ask that question, which will bring change in you. Right? So this is our opportunity. So let us once again welcome his guest, Chaitanya Charan Prabhu, with 3 loud and enthusiastic.
Hare Krishna. Delighted to be here with all of you today. Om Jnana Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nidinamine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Acharine Jaisha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna.
6 inches.
Am I audible? Can you read this? Am I audible to everyone?
Yes.
Good enough. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, bro.
So those who are not able to hear me, they are happy to not hear me. So that's fine. So I'll speak today briefly on a topic of great relevance in the contemporary world, and then we'll talk about how it connects with the Bhagavad Gita. That is, to some extent, what are the topics that were announced?
Depression.
Depression. I would have been depressed if nobody had replied. So, this is based on, I think, 1835 from the Bhagavad Gita. recite the verse a couple of times. Krishna is talking about determination in the three modes of material nature. Yaya, Swapnam, okay, tell the meaning, then we recite it. So, Yaya is by which Swapnam. Swapnam here is not just dreaming, it's more just really fantasizing, daydreaming. Basically, it's a mental activity disconnected with physical activity. And then the other is Swapnam, Bhayam. Bhayam is fearfulness. Okay, this is anxiety, panic, worry. Bhayam, Shokam. Shokam is it's dejection, it's lamentation. Yaya Swapnam Bhayam Shokam. Then Vishad. Vishad. So Shoka is lamentation occasional. Something goes wrong and then we feel bad. But Vishadam is habitual negativity. It's constantly a person's modes. Vishadam. And then nobody can live habitually negative. So what they do is they try to escape. One common escape is madam, intoxication. Intoxication with alcohol, it can be through drugs. Nowadays they can be through entertainment. You can get a dopamine hit. And so vishadam madamevacha. So now these are all typical tendencies of the mind. We all will sometimes daydream, we all sometimes feel fearful. But specifically Krishna is talking about it when one is not stopping doing this. One doesn't stop doing this at all. Na vimunchati. Munchati means to give up. Na vimunchati means just not give up. Durmedha. The intelligence is misdirected. By which one keeps justifying and perpetuating this kind of practices. Na vimunchati durmedha. Na vimunchati durmedha. So Krishna said dhruti. This is determination. Sa Partha Arjuna tamasi. This is determination in the mode of ignorance. This is a perverse determination. Dhruti sa Partha tamasi.
Dhruti sa Partha tamasi.
Yaya swapnam bhayam shokam.
Yaya swapnam bhayam shokam.
Vishadam madamevacha.
Vishadam madamevacha.
Na vimunchati durmedha.
Na vimunchati durmedha.
Dhruti sa Partha tamasi.
Dhruti sa Partha tamasi.
So one last time, all of us together.
Yaya swapnam bhayam shokam. Vishadam madamevacha. Na vimunchati durmedha. Dhruti sa Partha tamasi.
So in this particular chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is analyzing action by looking at various components of action. So I hope you can move a little bit this side so that you can see. Because I will be writing and drawing quite extensively. Otherwise you can join online as I mentioned. So basically Krishna is using the word determination. Now determination, dhruti, what is that? It is, you could say, can be explained in many different ways, but it is basically the capacity to transform. Am I not audible?
So I'm putting just 2-3
You need
minutes.
the other mic? Okay.
I'm putting.
Yeah, 5 minutes we'll fix it.
So, I think bring this closer. Is this better now or not much? Okay, we can use this. You want to try this?
Please, I'm putting. It will just 2 minutes. I'm putting it.
Okay.
Screen. Oh, okay. I'll take a
Put
picture.
this
I'll
in
take
the
a picture
mic
and put it in the group. Once in a while you
Mic
can see
one.
the picture, okay?
Put this in my
Kindly,
phone.
if you want,
Put this in mic one.
are
Mic
you
one.
on Zoom or where are you? This is on Zoom or it's
YouTube live.
No. If you want, I don't know whether we could connect this. You could share the screen, or I could go on Zoom from here. I don't know.
I'll take picture and keep putting in the group that we use for it. Just wait 2 minutes, I'll put it. No problem.
Normally, if somebody shows a PowerPoint, how do you do that?
Sorry about this.
No, I'm grateful. Normally, my
There is echo. Decrease the echo.
Hare Krishna,
echo.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare
Decrease.
Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
Oh, I can't find this in all.
Hare Krishna. Okay. Is this okay? Hare Krishna. Okay. Good.
Are you all able to hear?
Maybe a little echo is there.
What echo? No, we can use the normal mic.
Yeah, sure. No problem.
Remove everything. We'll use the normal mic. Keep the normal mic. No. One solution is enough. Press it inside. So you should daba the button. Yeah.
Switch on. Here, switch on the on.
Yeah.
It's on.
It's on.
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare
Yeah.
Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Yes.
Hare Krishna. Is this better now?
Yeah.
It's long. Can you hear me there? No? Little
Yes.
louder, I think. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Maximum.
It's maximum.
Yeah, we'll find.
Okay, so
We have to change this.
okay, I'll try to speak a little louder.
Sorry.
Is this better now?
Yes, Prabhu, we can.
So Krishna here is talking about determination. Determination is basically the capacity to translate intention to action. We all have many things we want to do in life. And if you consider this is the soul, around that is the subtle body, the mind, around that is the body, and then the outer world. So when an intention comes from inside, many times we make a resolution, and then not only we do not follow the resolution, we even forget that we made the resolution. So the intention gets lost somewhere in between. Sometimes it might get blocked over here itself. Sometimes it goes some way and then gets blocked here. So basically the intention gets blocked along the way. So determination, the capacity to translate intention into action. And normally we would consider determination to be a good thing. But Krishna is talking here about determination in the mode of ignorance. And this we could call as stubbornness or obstinacy. Generally, if something is good for us, and if we keep doing that in spite of opposition, that's determination. If somebody is sick and they need to recover, they don't do exercise. They're not very comfortable to exercise. But they keep exercising. That's determination. Because it's good for them. But if sometimes something is bad for us, and there is opposition to do it, and still we keep doing it, is that determination? Yes, well, you could say it's determination, but it is a perverse determination, isn't it? So, generally, if something is, when we face opposition doing something, like somebody has never drunk before, and they drink and they just don't like the taste, they get a hangover, and they say, I'm never going to drink again. No, keep drinking, I'll make a good drinker out of you. So, if that person is not even getting pleasure out of it, but still they keep doing it, then that is stubbornness. When we do keep doing something which is harmful for us, that is determination, which I'm talking about in the mode of ignorance. So these kind of mental behaviors where there's a lot of daydreaming. Now we all have vision of what I want to do, what I want to become, and that's good. But if the vision is disconnected from any action, then it just becomes a daydream. So that kind of daydreaming is not of much use. And we all have things which we are concerned about. There'll be anxiety. But generally when we do something about the anxiety, then we can decrease the anxiety. But if we just keep worrying and doing nothing about it, then that is going to be harmful. Similarly, basically, when we are acting, rather only acting at the mental level and not acting at the physical level. So something bad happens, yeah, naturally we feel bad about it. But then, you could say that life has ups and downs. So as they say, kabhi khushi, kabhi gum. So like that happens. And now what happens externally, you could say will be reflected internally. So internally also when something good happens, we feel good. When something bad happens, we feel bad. That's understandable. But imagine if something bad happens and a person just stays down. So that is unhealthy. So something bad happens, okay, Vishadam, Madam. So Vishad is, if bad thing happens, you stay down and keep staying down itself. And that is unhealthy. Similarly, we all need some break in life. Krishna also talks about regulated recreation. Yuktahara viharasya. But nowadays, for many people, entertainment is not a break from life. Life is a break from entertainment. The most important, very loosely. Okay, I'm feeling depressed. It's okay. So, generally, I may say, I have lost. Oh, I tried to do this, I tried to get this job, but I lost this. I have lost. I invested some money there, I lost it. So that is something that's going to happen to everyone at some point. But worse than I have lost is I am lost. I am lost means I just don't know what to do or where to go. So that is going to be much more psychologically damaging. But even more, or the most psychologically damaging is I am a loser. I am a loser. When this happens, it is not just an event, it is not just the impact of the event on us, it is a self-identification that has changed. And when this happens, that is the time when the person loses all energy. The person just loses capacity to do anything. See, one of the defining characteristics, the depression can be a complex phenomenon, but one of the defining characteristics of depression is the utter absence of desire to do anything. When a person is depressed, what happens is there is no desire at all. Why should I even get up in the morning? Now this is not renunciation. This is frustration. This is, one feels the pointlessness of desires, not because one thinks that that object is undesirable. One thinks that I am unworthy of getting that object. So, when this happens, at this point, we could talk about the three modes of material nature. Which are the three modes? Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. So you can say that these three modes can be understood. Some people make things happen. They think, they plan, they analyze and they do. I do this, you do this. So that is which mode? Some people make things happen. Rajas are people, they watch things happen. They try to do one thing but they don't plan properly. I speak this to that person gets angry and that person tells the other person, hey, what happened? What went wrong? Some people make things happen some people watch things happen and some people wonder what happened. So, in Tamils, people are just lost in their head, they don't even know what is going on in the world. Now, sometimes we think of Rajoguna as a bad thing. And yes, from a spiritual perspective, Rajoguna can be a problematic. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur emphasizes that Rajoguna can actually be an antidote to the poison of Tamoguna. Tamoguna means a person has no desire at all. No desire for taking care of oneself, no desire for taking care of anyone else. In Rajoguna, a person may have desires, but at least they have some material desires. Okay, we say material desires are not the highest desires we can have, but at least there's some desires. So, last about 8-10 years, I've been spending a lot of time in the West, 6 to 9 months a year. I spend in the Western world trying to share bhakti over there. And I spent a lot of time in the colleges, and it struck me very much that a lot of children grow up with negligent parents. Sometimes parents in Rajoguna may be very pushy. Do this and you have to do that and you have to do that. The expectation may be very high. But at the same time, if the child is in danger, child has some trouble, the parents will be ready to move heaven and earth to take care of the child. So at least a person in Rajoguna has that sense, as a drive, that sense of responsibility to take care of one's family. But a person in Tamoguna, a parent in Tamoguna doesn't even know that the child exists. They are high on drugs and they're stoned, and the child has to fend for existence. So, in many ways, from the world's perspective, from the functioning in this world, Rajoguna is much, much better than Tamoguna. So, generally, when people are in Rajoguna, that means they have a lot of desire. I want wealth, I want fame, I want power, I want this, I want that. They're driven by desires. Now, these desires can push us to do a lot of things. And over a period of time. So, as a person grows, what starts happening is, you could say in Rajoguna, there is domination by desire. The person is dominated. I have to do this, I cannot live without doing this. But in Tamoguna, there is not suppression of desire, there is just dejection with the desire. That a person, I'll explain how this may happen, that a person tries to get a job and they don't get a very good job. The person tries to have a relationship and the relationship don't work out. The person tries to maybe improve their health, they take some goals, they don't achieve those goals. When that starts happening, the person starts getting dejected. And then, that is why, say, in Rajoguna, we will have desires and we'll face ups and downs of life. Go up, go down, go up, go down. But when a person is very strongly identifying with the desire or the object of desire, suppose somebody identifies themselves very strongly with, okay, I'm a millionaire. So their self-worth becomes equated with their net worth. And when this happens, their self-worth, what happens to it? It becomes equated with their net worth. And then now everybody can sometimes face loss in business, loss in finances. When that happens, again, it could be I have lost, or I am lost, or I am a loser. So if a person is identifying too much with their wealth and their financial status, then if they lose that, it becomes I am a loser. And now wealth is not the problem here, it's identifying too much with the wealth. Somebody is, say, a software engineer and they lose their job and somehow they're not able to get a job. If their identification is too strong, I'm a software engineer. If I'm not a software engineer, who am I? It's not a philosophical question, it's a psychological question. And they have no identity that I am no one, I am a loser. So it's a very difficult situation to be in. Now, over a period of time, from Rajoguna, a person can go down to Tamoguna because life will give reversals. And if we identify too strongly, then we go down and we suffer. But a person can also rise towards Sattva-guna. So over a period, there's initially domination by desires. But after, in Sattva-guna, there is selection of desires. That means that person understands, okay, I have many desires, but which desires are more important? So maybe in youth, maybe when a person 15, 20, 25, all that they want is I just want to earn a lot of money. But people when they come to 35, 40, okay, money is important. Making money is important. But what I am making with money is even more important. Sorry?
Small announcement.
Yes.
Sorry. Hare Krishna. Yeah, Hare Krishna. There is a Maruti car right in front of the supermarket. PS07FN9157. Whosoever car it is, can you please go down and remove it? It is causing some obstruction for the delivery van. Hare Krishna. Sorry. Yes.
So, I was talking about selection of desires. That, okay, I'm making money, but what am I making with money? That is important. And when that happens, then person starts thinking, okay, I have family, I want to spend time with my family. I have a cultural side, I have a spiritual side, I have a social side. I need to pay attention to that. So a person starts selecting desires. Sattva-guna is characterized by wisdom. Sattva-guna is not giving up desires, but rather it is choosing desires. Which desires are more important, which desires are lesser. And at this point, a person can function properly. How? And as we move toward transcendence, then again we don't reject desires, rather we select those desires which bring us closer to Krishna, which harmonize with Krishna. So, if we do not understand spirituality properly, we say spirituality is giving up desires. Sometimes people can give up desires and they can go into depression. We are not giving up desires. In one sense, we are giving up lower desires to have higher desires. We understand, okay, getting fame, getting power, getting position, getting, all these are important. But is there something more to learn? What is more? What will actually bring meaning to life? So, if you see in our tradition, there are 4 purusharthas. Which are the purusharthas? Dharma, Artha, Kama and Moksha. Thank you. So, Artha has multiple meanings. What is the Artha of Artha? Artha at one level means wealth. Like we have an Artha Mantri, the finance minister. But Artha also means meaning. So what this means is Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. Artha is actually meaningful wealth. Not just wealth, but meaningful wealth. So imagine if a person has a lot of money, they have risen to the top in their field. But in rising up there, they have alienated all their friends, they have alienated their family. They have a big house, but all that house provides them with a lot of space in which to feel lonely and unhappy. Now, so they may have financial wealth, but wealth can be of different kinds. There can be relational wealth. We have close relationships. We have people who care for us, people we care for, but that is also wealth. So, meaningful wealth. For different people, what will be meaningful wealth is different. So if you consider the four varnas, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, these are not caste by birth. These are human dispositions. And so for a Brahmana, the artha is jnana. The meaningful wealth is wisdom. So for all of us, so that's why the idea is before you pursue your desires, kama, we all have desires and we want to pursue our desires. So kama is not simply lust. Kama is basically desire and the fulfillment of the desire. But if we don't understand what is artha, then the kama, in one sense, it doesn't fulfill. See, basically, there is meaningful desire. Meaning is extremely important. In general, why does a person go into depression? Many reasons. But over a period of time, there are no meaningful desires left for us. What is the point of meaning? Now, when a spiritualist says this, there is a higher meaning of it. But when a person is depressed, they have all desires are just lost meaningful. So we are pleasure-seeking creatures, we are desiring creatures, but we are also meaning-seeking creatures. See, Sat, Chit, Ananda. So Ananda is the three characters of Atma. Ananda is associated with happiness. But Chit, the Chit faculty, that consciousness, Chit faculty, you can say that because of the conscious faculty, we are curious and we seek meaning. That's why you could say Sat, the Sat feature of the Atma makes us want to live. The Chit feature, it makes us want not just live, but live meaningfully. It makes us look for meaning. And the Anand feature makes us look for happiness. So we want a meaningfully happy life. And if somebody has not taken enough time to find out what is meaningful, this pursuing whatever desires the world says, okay, buy a big house, buy a big car, do this, do that. Then, over a period of time, that person just is the desire, but there's no meaning in it. And then the desires start becoming meaningless. So, this is three aspects. When a person is having some depression or depressive tendencies, at that time it is not just because they had some failure in their life. They had some bad things happen. Yes, that's true, bad things happen to everyone in life, unfortunately. But then, okay, what is meaningful for me? What is meaningful for me right now? In one sense, we could say among the various things, we want life, we want pleasure, but we want meaning the most. In fact, more than pleasure, you could say. Now, these are not entirely exclusive, but if you see, say when the Indian independence struggle was there, I was just in Bengal short time ago. Now, when Subhash Chandra Bose was calling for independence, तुम मुझे खून दो, मैं तुम्हें आज़ादी दूँ. And people were ready to sacrifice. But because service to the nation was giving them some meaning. And that's why they were ready to risk their life. And being in the army, there was no comfort over there. There's great risk, discomfort, austerity, but they do that. In one sense, meaning is what we need the most. And unfortunately, if we lose meaning, then that is where our life starts sinking downwards. Now, what has happened when says somebody, I am a loser? What has happened if somebody says I am a loser? That means their sense of meaning came from their job. I am a software engineer, I am this, I am that, I am a millionaire. Their sense of meaning came from that. And when that was taken away, so I'll make one last point and then we can move forward towards some questions on this topic as well as other questions. That the Bhagavad Gita itself presents Arjuna with a crisis of meaning. I talked about one place where depression is coming up, we are not able to achieve something, or what we achieve doesn't seem to be meaningful. And if we don't find anything else which is more meaningful. So basically, when in Rajoguna we have certain sources of meaning. It can be wealth, it can be position, it can be power, it can be sensual pleasure. But when after some time this starts deteriorating, after some time, there has to be something more. Now either one can look for some higher meaning, or one can go down and think life itself is meaningless. And that is why spirituality and spiritual is so important. That when people do not have a spiritual understanding of life, then materialism is all that they know. There is, we have devotees of the Lord, we also have, we can say there are devotees of materialism. There is matter is all that matters. So these are devotees of matter. Matter is all that matters. And there can even be pure devotees of matter. That is, matter is when many people are seeking and craving for material things. Many people are getting material things. If you see in the last 50-20 years, India has also, relatively speaking, become quite wealthy. Not all of India, but a significant portion of India. So the kind of wealth, say, people get through IPL, it's in the past, people in the remaining part of the world would consider India to be a poor country. But now, the IPL is the second wealthiest sports league in the entire world. So there's a lot of wealth. But what after that? If one doesn't get this question, then that means one is just too infatuated with pursuing things. But sooner or later, one will get this question. We just don't want, we are not just pleasure-seeking creatures. We are meaningful pleasure-seeking creatures. Say somebody told us, from tomorrow onwards, you have no financial obligations, you have no family obligations, you have no health obligations. From morning to night, every day for the rest of your life, you can just watch comedy shows and enjoy life. Now, everybody likes humor. But if you say comedy show half an hour, 1 hour, you are very frustrated for maybe a whole day, whole weekend. But somebody tells you, watch it for the rest of your life. It will become meaningless. I want to do something meaningful. So yeah, there could be jokes and we could be laughing at the jokes. But I want to do something meaningful. So we don't want just pleasure. We want meaningful pleasure. And Arjuna faced a similar crisis. What is meaningful? When I have to fight a war against my relatives, and it's not something I want to do. For Arjuna, it was like a nightmare scenario. Imagine there's a student, and the student is trained by some teacher. Then if the student and teacher have a very good bond, then the student's dream is that I performed well and my teacher is proud. And the student's nightmare would be that they have to compete against their teacher. Especially, it's one thing to be rivals. That maybe a student and teacher both become good and they're competing for the same title. But rivals are one thing, enemies are another thing. In rivals, both have one common goal which they want to achieve. But when you are enemies, your goal is to destroy the other person. So for Arjuna, this was a nightmarish scenario. Katham Bhishma Maham Sankhe Dronam Jamadasudanam Ishu Vigatyotyami Pujaravani Sudanam. So how can I fight against Bhishma and Drona? So at that time, the Bhagavad Gita was spoken. So Arjuna felt this fight is meaningless. That's what I earlier said, the futility of desire. That's what Arjuna says. Avape bhuma vasaptanam uttam rajyam suranam vicharipatyam. Even if I attain success, either there are two ways to success in this case. One is he can get in victory and he will rule the earth. Or he may fight, he may die, he will go to heaven. Both are pointless. And it was at that time the Bhagavad Gita was spoken. To help Arjuna find meaning in life. So for all of us, we may not be suffering from depression. We may know someone who is suffering from depression. We may ourselves have some depressive tendencies. So the point is that each one of us has to find what is meaningful for me. And ultimately, whatever is meaningful for us, we connect it with the source of supreme meaning. For Arjuna, his source of archery was his meaning. He says, I didn't become an archer to kill my archery teacher. He says, that his source of his archery, it just seemed to lose meaning. I didn't become an archer for this. That's when Krishna revealed to him that you are not just an archer, you are my devotee. I have a plan for everyone. And if you serve in my plan, it will be good for everyone. You are thinking that Bhishma and Drona, how can you shoot arrows at them? How can you hurt them? How can you kill them? But you don't understand that sharper than the physical arrows that you are shooting at them are the verbal arrows that Duryodhana is right now shooting at. Duryodhana was always goading them. You are partial to the Pandavas. You don't fight wholeheartedly. And he said, because of an obligation, they are bound to fight in that situation. You think you are their well-wisher, but I am everyone's supreme well-wisher. Surudam Sarva Bhutana. So therefore, I have a plan for them. They are virtuous, they are devoted. If they die in this war, they are souls, they will not die. Their bodies will be destroyed, but their souls will be elevated and liberated. So, by fighting, you are not harming them, you are actually helping them get out of an unpalatable situation. And that is my plan for you and for them. So that's why Artha has to always be connected with Paramartha. Artha, there are many things can be source of meaning for us. But unless we connect that with the source of ultimate meaning, that is Krishna. So whatever is our Artha, whatever the source of meaning for us, when we use that in a mood of service to Krishna, then that external source of Artha may be lost. But the Paramartha, our connection with Krishna, will always be there. And because if somebody is to overcome depression, there's these two steps. First is, we help them. What is meaningful for you right now in this situation? What is it that you are interested in? What is it that you can do? And then do it in a mood of service. Do it in a mood of selflessness. Do it in a mood of devotion to Supreme Lord. In principle, it's simple. In practice, it requires a lot of patience and creativity to actually be able to stimulate that desire and to facilitate the person to move forward. But this is how our life becomes truly meaningful and fulfilling. So I'll summarize what I discussed today. I started by talking about how depression is characterized by absence of desire. And absence of desire is a very dark place to be. And why might a person have no desire at all? This is not transcendental. It is because of a deep misidentification. It is, I am a loser. It is not because the object of desire is unworthy. It's too much hard work to get it. It's, I am unworthy to get that object. And when that happens, then that is where a person ends up depressed. So it is deep misidentification. And then we talked about how do we deal with this? We have to find Artha. We have to find some meaning in our life. That we are, because we are Sat Chit Ananda, so we want to live, we want pleasure, but most of all, we want a meaningful life and a meaningful pleasure. So sometimes people are ready to give up their pleasure and their life if they have meaning. And then lastly we discussed how the Bhagavad Gita also is a crisis. Arjuna was not exactly depressed, but Arjuna was paralyzed. He also lost the desire. I don't want to be a part of this at all. So Krishna gave him a higher vision. So our artha, whatever gives us meaning right now, we connect that with Paramartha. So if parenting gives meaning to our life, it's important. But then these are not just my children, these are Krishna's children interested in my care. So that I can help them on their journey to Krishna. So when there is this linking of artha and paramartha, what gives us immediate meaning and what gives us ultimate meaning. And that is what will help us rise above the dejections and the depressions that the world's dejections will cause. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Do we have questions or do we take questions from this or what do we do now?
Hare
Krishna. So if anyone is in depression, you can ask me. Hare Krishna. Dhanavad. Thank you for the class. And I normally hear the lecture. It gives me a lot of kind of
Depression.
No. Come out of that depression. So one thing, just want to kind of get clarification. A negative person and a depressed person are both same thing, or those are two different things?
Not at all, not at all.
And how to come out of negativity?
See, negative thinking is also a gift from God. No, the world needs negative thinkers. See, every area we need positive thinkers or visionaries. If there is a barren land, a positive thinker thinks, oh, I'll build a skyscraper. But for that skyscraper to be safe, there has to be a negative thinker, isn't it? Okay, what if there's a fire? What if there's electric shock? What if there's, isn't it? Actually, you have to envision all those things, and then you will prevent it. And not everybody can think negative. So, it's like one of my services is writing. So in writing, there's a creative side and there's a critical side. Generally, authors are more creative. Oh, what about this idea? What about this idea? What about this idea? But the editor is a critical side. This doesn't make sense. This doesn't work. And the author and the editor need to come together for a good book to be. So in one sense, an editor is a negative thinker. So look here, this doesn't make sense. This doesn't work. This doesn't work. So when you say negative thinking, it can be many different things. So I started by, I use it in specific sense. It is the capacity to see negativities. See either present problems or potential problems. So that not everybody can do that. Now having said that, see, negative thinking is not the problem. It is not able to stop negative thinking. That is the problem. That means it's a tool. Use it when it is required. But we should be able to stop that. Okay, now there is no need to think it. It's like if somebody might be a professional editor, they can easily spot something wrong in everything that they do. Now, if the child has come and written the first sentence, now you don't have to be editor. And you can read the child. Oh, yeah, nice, good that you read it. So we should, if we understand, each of us has a mind of a particular kind. That comes from our past life. So when we identify too much with our mind, then we don't see the mind as a resource for us. We see the mind as non-different from us. So that's when I said that when the mind comes so close to me, when I identify with the mind, that is when the mind's way of thinking becomes my uncritical default way of thinking. So somebody who is by default a negative thinker, in the sense that they tend to look at negatives. So what can they do? Two things. First is try to have a good relationship with somebody who is a positive thinker. I said an editor needs an author. There are only editors and no authors in the world. Editors will be unemployed. So try to have somebody who thinks positive. And instead of just dissing their ideas, okay, why do you think like this? By associating with them, you say, okay, yeah, that's also another way of looking at it. I didn't think about that. So, and in general, if we practice spirituality, then we will be able to distance ourselves from that. We will identify, hey, this may not happen. I am just going on a negative thinking path. I don't need to go. Yes.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I like the point of meaningful life pleasure. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. My question is, despite of understanding this and having the knowledge, reading Prabhupada's books and our teachings, still there are situations where we undergo a phase of depression where everything is going wrong and we may even feel, not even do spirituality, even that is not working for me. So how to get out of this, and is knowledge only enough, or is there something else which is needed at that situation?
Okay. So, if nothing seems to be working, and you try to practice bhakti, and then bhakti also doesn't seem to be working, then it means I try to chant, I can't focus on chanting, I try to wake up in the morning, I can't wake up in the morning. So, this is an elaborate subject, but it's important that each one of us, if we take some kind of inventory of our life. Krishna says, elevate, now this verse 6.5, one of my favorite verses from the Bhagavad Gita. It is translated differently by different commentators. Uddhare atmanatmanam, natmanam avasadhare, atmaiva atmano bhakti, atmaiva tripuratmanam. So Prabhupada translates it as, elevate yourself with your mind, don't degrade yourself with your mind. The mind can be your friend and mind can be your enemy. Some previous acharyas translate it as, both is Atma, so both is self. That means elevate yourself with yourself. Don't degrade yourself with yourself. You can be your friend and you can be your enemy. What that means is that we often talk about healthy relationship with others. But we also have to think about a healthy relationship with ourselves. What do I mean by that? So if I am here, you can say I am the observer. And I am the doer. So we could say there's two parts of us. If we have to have a healthy relationship with someone. Now what does that mean? Somebody's birthday is there and say, today I will give you a gift. No, that will change your life. We have been in a relationship for 25 years. In the last 25 years, all the faults that I have observed in you, I'll tell all of them to you today. So that you can improve. Now, that level of, even if all of them are true, if they are not true, the person will be very angry. If they are all true, the person will become depressed. Isn't it? So, if we are relating with someone, there are times when that person does something wrong, we have to give them some negative feedback. But for that relationship to be healthy, we also have to appreciate them when they do something good. The same principle we have to apply to ourselves. See, there are some times when we have to give ourselves feedback. There are some words which have certain implicit meanings. When you say feedback, it rarely means positive feedback. It means feedback means negative. So now, there are times we have to take ourselves to task. No, I should not have been forgetful like that. I should not have been lazy like that. But there are times when we also have to encourage ourselves. It is, sometimes the world can be discouraging. And sometimes, hopefully we don't come to a situation like that. But sometimes, while the world is discouraging, sometimes we might not find anyone who will encourage us. We should have a relationship where somebody will be there to encourage us. But it is important that we also learn to encourage ourselves. That means when nothing is working in our life, then we look back at our life and note what has worked, what we have achieved. Like everything, if we had been totally terrible people, then the world is a brutal place. If a person is a complete incompetent mess, that person wouldn't survive for long in this world. We have survived, we have succeeded, we have all done something right in our life. So there are times we need to encourage ourselves. And when we are thinking about ourselves also, there are aspects of us. When we think about, we feel disheartened, we feel, oh, I'm not good enough, I just can't do this. But if that is all we are thinking about, then that's a problem. So we need to look at aspects of our life which are good, which are working. So in general, just like in a relationship, when we give some positive feedback, we give appreciation, and then we give some suggestions, some corrections, then that person can take it. It's still difficult, but the person can take it. Similarly, in our relationship with ourselves, we need to also be appreciative and encouraging. Not in an arrogant, narcissistic way, but not that I am great or I am the greatest, but I am also part of God. And there is something good about me also. So we get strength from that part of us which is positive. And then we use that strength to deal with the part of us which is negative. And this is actually very much, you could say, a part of self-care. Self-care means that on one side we want self-transformation, self-improvement. But on the other side, there has to be also self-acceptance and self-appreciation. So we need both of them together. So if negative things are happening at that time, we need more of the self-care part also.
So is that humbleness, being not worthy?
Okay, thinking that I am unworthy, is that humility? Well, I will say with all humility, that is stupidity. Basically, see, we all have, I'll explain this. I'm working on a book on humility. And I will say that without humility. But see, we all have some purpose in life. And humility means that we don't let our ego come in the way of our purpose. Humility means what? To not let our ego come in the way of our purpose. Say, if we want to share, if we have a close friend or family member and we want to help them, but when we go to help them, they are in a bad mood or in a bad place and they disrespect us, they annoy us. We understand they're not bad people, but they're going to a bad place. My purpose is to help them, even if that person disrespects me right now. I'll still want to help. So, we don't let our ego come in the way of our purpose. But if our so-called humility is coming in the way of our purpose itself, then that's not humility. Once I was giving a class and people behind us couldn't hear the class. And then I think towards the end of the class, one person said, I can't hear you. I said, I asked, so can others hear? He says, no, we also can't hear. I said, okay, then why did you tell me? Because we wanted to be humble. Here, what is the purpose? I've come here to share spiritual wisdom. Here I come to learn spiritual wisdom. So if your humility is coming in the way of that, that is not humility. Isn't it? So that is, I didn't say that. So, if we are feeling unworthy, like I said, I am a loser. Feeling like that, if that is making me not do anything at all, I just quit. The Bhaktivinoda Thakur talks about Amara Jivan Sada Papera. My life is filled with sin. But at the end of it, he is therefore, I take shelter of you. I have no shelter other than you. So that sense of I am fallen does not lead to his becoming so discouraged that I can't even take shelter of Krishna. That never happens. Have any of you heard this phrase? So, I am a fallen soul. Now what happens is when we say this, the fallen becomes so big that the soul is lost. So now even fallen is a temporary designation. Just like we say, I am not male, I am not female, I am not Indian, I am not this, I am not that. Because those are temporary designations. So similarly, fallen is a temporary designation. We are souls. Sometimes we fixate so much on the fallen part that we forget this one. So yes, I may be fallen, but I am a soul. And that soul is always a part of Krishna. The soul is always loved by Krishna. In fact, we may think I am unworthy, but Krishna never thinks us unworthy. No matter how many terrible things we may do, Krishna never says, I am so disgusted with you, I am leaving your heart and going away. We can never do anything that can ever stop Krishna from loving us.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for a wonderful session. If somebody is depressed, okay, we can't use philosophy. Okay, and sometimes a person won't even accept that I am in depression. So how do you approach?
Your question is putting me in depression. Okay. Well, generally speaking, there are two kinds of people. Some people who just want to deny that they are in depression. And there are other people who want to announce I am in depression. It often depends on the social culture.
There are a lot of people.
In some social cultures, depression is seen as a sign of weakness. Come on, fight. Why are you so weak? So where depression is seen as a sign of weakness, people deny that they are in depression. But so there are these two orientations, the right and the left. The right is more all about individual responsibility. Each person for themselves. The left is more for social responsibility. That's why if you see nowadays when somebody commits suicide, you see the way they report it in the news is not he committed suicide. He died by suicide. That means almost like he died by cancer. Suicide is something like happened to him. So what is the idea? Now the whole idea is that person didn't have a supportive social system, and that's why that person committed suicide. It could be like that, but it's not necessarily like that. So in general, the right is all about individual responsibility. And because of that, in cultures which are more right-oriented, people who are depressed, they will deny that they are depressed. In cultures which are left-oriented, if I am depressed, it means the world around me is bad. People around me are bad. And the world should come step forward and support me. So often, when somebody says they are depressed, people get an outpouring of support. So that happens in left-oriented culture. So it depends. But in general, if a person is denying that they're depressed, then trying to tell them that they're depressed doesn't really help much. So what we can try to do is, and I wouldn't say we can't give philosophy. See, philosophy should be one tool in our toolbox. It shouldn't be the only tool. Like some people have a hammer and everything is a nail for them. So now a hammer is one tool. It's an important tool. So philosophy is also a tool. But philosophy alone is not a solution to every problem. So we have to find out if somebody is depressed. How can we trigger some healthy desire? Some healthy desire. So, okay, what is it? If the person say that, this went wrong in my life, and this went wrong in my life, this went wrong in my life. Okay. If these things had not gone wrong, what would you have liked to do? I was in America and I was sitting in America, drugs are a big problem and drug addiction is a big problem. But there are two different kinds. One is where people are just having a meaningless life and they try to take drugs to escape. But the other is where people get some fracture or something and they take some pain medication. And the pain medication has addictive problems. And then the person goes into a hospital with a fractured body and the person comes out of the hospital with an addicted mind. It's tragic. So, it's big pharma and sometimes it's very dangerous. But when this happens, so I was talking with a young man, he said that it's become this chemical dependency just unconditioned without taking those drugs. And of course taking drugs also has its effect, he can't function. He said, my life is ruined. So I told him, suppose you were free from this drug addiction, what would you do? So he was from a chemical engineering background. He said, I would like to go into research to try to develop painless, non-addictive pain medication. He said, it's a noble desire. He said, so what steps have you taken in that life? He said, I can't do anything. Nobody will admit me in the university. I can't do any masters. I can barely function. Okay. But you have times of coherence. You have times of music. Now education has become democratized. And you can start studying right now. You can start studying, you can start doing some research. So, in the period that you have when you are functioning, start doing something that is meaningful. And then gradually, what will happen is, as you find some meaning in your life, then the positivity will increase, the qualities will increase. And then you will find that that meaning will expand, expand. So, we don't have to do something sensational and world transformational for it to be meaningful for us. This is often, when we talk about meaningful, we often think of meaningful for the world. But what is meaningful for me? And we all have certain things that are meaningful for us. So, in whatever situation we are, when we say talk about param drishtva, where does this phrase come, param drishtva? Param drishtva nivartate. So often it is translated as higher taste. And that's a perfect translation. At the same time, sometimes people feel the higher taste is too high. I don't have that higher taste. So actually, that higher taste, if you see, drishtva literally means, drishti is what? Vision. So that higher taste can simply begin with a higher vision. What would be a higher vision of my life? How could my life be a little more meaningful? And if I can find a little more meaning in my life, from that higher vision, a higher desire will come. Okay? Yeah, I am depressed right now, but I am depressed, I'm addicted, I'm this and that. But during the time of lucidity, I can do some things. So I can go and maybe nowadays a lot of people, there's this thing called bovine therapy or cow cuddling. That means now cow cuddling is just a cool way of saying go seva. But they found that if you go and just take care of the cow, cuddle the cow, pet the cow, feed the cow, just see that my existence can be of some benefit to someone. Just doing a simple activity like that can actually calm them, can help a person feel less depressed. So from higher vision, okay, I may be depressed, but I can do something small for someone. From that higher vision comes higher desire. From higher desire comes higher purpose. Purpose basically means, purpose is a strong, sustained, systematic desire. Three things. The strong desire, we keep it going for a long time, and it's not just a desire. We have a plan how to execute. That's a purpose. And gradually from higher purpose, higher things too. So that's how wherever we are, we can start with a higher vision and move forward. Any other matters have any questions? Yes.
Excellent. Wonderful take-home points, Prabhu. This question is about someone that's working like me. So as we come to Krishna consciousness and our mind contemplates on spiritual things, the earlier the competition or need for position, promotion, all that has come down remarkably, Prabhu. So while I do want to concentrate on spiritual practices and my interest is not the same on the work-related aspects, at the same time, the mind sometimes tells you that, you're efficient and you're not doing well enough. And so how do we get that balance of what using full potential work to serve the society versus spending on spiritual practices?
Okay, that's a good question. How do we balance, say, working in society as well as practicing spirituality? See, my understanding is that the Bhagavad Gita talks about two different kinds of bhakti. One, you can call it as immersive bhakti. Immersive means we turn away from the world and immerse ourselves in Krishna. That is our sadhana. That is if we come to satsang like this. We may go for some yatras. There are some festivals. That is immersive bhakti. But the Bhagavad Gita also talks about what can be called as inclusive bhakti, where we turn toward the world and we understand the world is also included in the domain of bhakti. That God does not exist only in the temple. God exists in the world also. And we can serve Him in the world also. So another way of understanding these two forms of bhakti is, sometimes we think of this, say this is the material level and this is the spiritual level of bhakti. And at the spiritual level, Krishna exists. And we want to go from the material level to spiritual level. And this is immersive bhakti. So we turn away from the world to practice bhakti. Are you visualizing?
Yes,
Okay. So now this is one understanding, it is a fair understanding. But another understanding is that Krishna doesn't exist only in the spiritual world. Actually, Krishna exists everywhere. So Krishna exists in this world also. And therefore, if I consider as an individual, serving Krishna in this world is also bhakti. That is inclusive bhakti. So Krishna talks about moksha, but Krishna also talks about moksha, liberation, attainment of Madhama. That is what Krishna is talking about in terms of immersive. But Krishna also talks about Loka Sangraha. Loka Sangraham evapi sampashyanta purvasi. And Loka Sangraha means maintaining the order of the world. And Krishna tells Arjuna, every one of us has to play our part in maintaining the order of the world. If we are taking something from the world, we need to give something back to the world. Now we say, actually I am not taking from the world, it is Krishna who is giving me. True, but it is Krishna who is giving us through the world. So we need to give back something to the world. And this Loka Sangraha is also an important part of our understanding of how we serve Krishna. And that's why Krishna says, Swa Karmana Tam Abhyarcha. Now this verse 1846 is often translated as, does anyone know? Swa Karmana Tam Abhyarcha. So literally it means by your work worship that Lord. Now that is translated sometimes as work is worship. Now that's an oversimplification. See, work intrinsically is not worship. If work itself were worship, then the donkey would be the greatest worship. Isn't it? But that does not mean work is to be trivialized. See, work is worship could be a good ethical principle. That yes, no worker should be demeaned, no worker should be looked down because of the kind of work that they are doing. So as an ethical principle, that is fine. But it's not a philosophical principle. Work is itself not worship, but work can be done in a mood of worship. So literal translation, Swakarmana tam abhyarcha. What it means is, through your work, worship that Lord. Through your work, worship that Lord. Tam abhyarcha, that Lord is Krishna referring to himself in the third person. The point is, we are also meant to serve Krishna in this world. See, if you see, while Krishna says this world is Dukkhalaya, Krishna doesn't just reject this world. In fact, Krishna descends again and again into this world. And what is his purpose in coming to this world? What is his purpose in coming to the world? Dharma samsthapanarthaya. See, it is not bhakti samsthapana. See, bhakti is individual and voluntary. Dharma is social. Dharma basically means social order, moral order. That somebody turns towards God or not, that's up to their free will. But somebody doesn't go about shooting each other, and that's not up to your free will. If you don't do that, you will put in jail. So maintaining dharma in this world, maintaining the order of the world is so important that Krishna himself descends to this world to maintain order. And we, in our particular position in the world, we also need to maintain order. Now, how much immersive bhakti we do, how much inclusive bhakti we do, that will depend on our two things. Our individual position and our individual disposition. Position means, say for example, if somebody has a young child and then they say, I want to chant Hare Krishna, I don't have time to take care of my child. No, in this position, that's what you need to do. Even when Srila Prabhupada met Bhakti Thakur, at that time, he said that if I had not been married, I would have joined his mission. But he said, now, I had a wife, I had a child, it would have been unfair to them. So Prabhupada also considered that important as a service. So the exact balance of immersive and inclusive bhakti, that depends on our position. If we are taking a responsible position in the world, then we have to be involved in doing the duty of that position. I say we fly by plane. Now would we like our pilot to be a devotee chanting Hare Krishna? Yeah, nice if the pilot is chanting Hare Krishna. But if the pilot is so busy chanting Hare Krishna, the plane crashes. No. if you are in a position, chanting Hare Krishna is good, but if you are in a responsible role like a pilot, you have to do that role well. Arjuna was always remembering Krishna, but that remembrance of Krishna was not distracting him from his service. There is no evidence in the Mahabharata that when Arjuna was shooting arrows, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. War is serious business, and Arjuna was focused on it. So if we are taking a responsible position, then we have to see that doing the responsibility properly in this position is actually my service to Krishna.
Mike.
Then how can you attach the mind while doing the work?
Okay, then how do we attach the mind while doing that work? That is where our immersive bhakti comes in. Then through our immersive bhakti, we slowly but surely start understanding that Krishna is the ultimate purpose of life. And as it becomes clear that Krishna is the purpose of our life, then that purpose permeates our consciousness. See, there is a conscious remembrance, and there's almost like not exactly unconscious, but a subconscious remembrance. Say, if somebody is having a job that takes them away from their family, but somehow they need that job because their financial needs or whatever. Or they will be away from their family, and when they're doing their job, they're dealing with different people, meeting different deadlines. But at the back of their mind, I'm doing this for my family. It's not that they're constantly thinking about their family in their conscious sense. At the back of their mind, it's all for their family. So similarly, through our immersive bhakti, it becomes clearer and clearer that for us, that my whole life is for the service of Krishna. And then whatever I do, I'm paying conscious attention to that. But at the same time, at the back of my mind, it's clear, this is for Krishna. So we could say that if this is our consciousness, then there is something in the foreground of our consciousness. That is what is prominently there. And something in the background of our consciousness. Say, if you are speaking for the first time in public, then we are so self-conscious. You know, how are people looking at me? Am I dressed properly? Am I doing this? Am I doing that? In fact, when we are speaking for the first time, we are conscious of everything except speaking. Now, of course, how people are responding, we need to be aware of that. But we don't have to be fixated on it. But as we keep speaking regularly in public, then what happens is, then that self-consciousness increases. You're still aware of how people are responding, how I'm presenting myself, but the speaking becomes more important. So slowly for us, as we keep practicing bhakti, both inclusive and immersive, then the externals of what we are doing, we will be conscious of them, but they won't dominate our consciousness. That means, say initially, say somebody's got a new job, or they are in a new field, and it's all new, that's completely consuming their consciousness. But if somebody has become good at a particular job, they've done it for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, then they do it, but they don't have to be completely consumed. So over a period of time, what will happen is, for us, see initially, our work will be what will be prominent, and Krishna will be somewhere in the background. But over a period of time, the way our consciousness will be, the work will be there at the foreground, but Krishna will be prominent in our consciousness. As I am doing this work, I do it attentively, but I am doing it for Krishna. So that's how the remembrance of Krishna ultimately means remembrance of our responsibility in our relationship with Krishna. It's it. What does Krishna want to do? Krishna wants me to serve. Let me do the service for him.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you for giving us a new perspective on Bhagavad Gita and
Thank you for calling me a speculator.
Not at all, Prabhuji. Yeah. Prabhuji, my question is about a person who's in depression. There are two scenarios. One is that you yourself are in depression, and one is that somebody else is in depression. So you already answered what kind of talk we need to give to a person who is in depression. Bring them to a stable platform, and then talk about Paramartha. But and life is very different when I'm trying to formulate my question. Like erstwhile, when we were not in devotional life, and if we are depressed, the self-talk is kind of a spiral which only takes you down. But in devotional life, I want to ask you, what is the self-talk we are supposed to give? Usually what happens in depression, if there is somebody near and dear talking to you, sometimes helps. But imagine a situation where you are the only one, nobody knows about your depression, you yourself do not know or term it as depression. But what is that self-talk? Where is that level where we need to stop bringing ourselves down? Because now that we are attending your session and we consciously know about these topics and what is leading and what is the ultimate solution, I want to know, where do we stop thinking what we are thinking? What is that self-talk we are supposed to give at that point? And where, after that, what is the next step that we need to think about? Like in our self-talk, talking to us. For the long description, I don't know if you got my question.
You will soon know whether I got the question. So the question broadly is that in Bhakti also, we may sometimes go into depression. So what kind of self-talk can we have, or how do we deal with that broadly speaking? And well, there are two different things over here. In general, while we have to manage our own mind, nobody else can manage our mind for us. At the same time, we don't have to manage our mind alone. That's why, if you see this, one of the 6 strengths of Bhakti, the 6 strengths of Bhakti is Guhyam Akhyati Pruchati. Now, Guhyam Akhyati Pruchati, that means to share our heart in confidence and to hear others share their heart in confidence. Now, this doesn't just only mean talking about, hey, I had a dream about Krishna, and we talk about some esoteric Vrindavan pastimes which we can't talk in public. That's one part. But the nature of the world is that whatever stage of life we are in, we will all have challenges. Generally we think, okay, I have challenges because I have so many conditioning. But in 9:14, Krishna said, Satatam kirtayanto maam janyatantascha vidagataha. So he's saying that the previous verse 9:30 talks about Mahatmanastham. Those are fully devoted to Krishna. But he said, even they require determination. Dudavataha. Now when you say, I need require determination because I have lust, anger, greed, envy, all these are other things. But somebody who doesn't have that, why do they need determination? Because even for them, they will not have internal conditionings, but they have outer conditions. And the world is not a comfortable place for anyone. The world does not make it easy to do anything worthwhile for anyone. For a materialistic person to do something materially worthwhile is difficult. For a spiritual person to do something spiritually worthwhile is also difficult. So the determination is required. And everybody can have a weak moment, everybody can feel down. So we need some forum, some friends, some association where we can unburden our heart. And if we have practiced bhakti for a particular amount of time, then it's almost as if we have to play a role. It's like one of my friends was telling me, I'm in big stress because I have been told to give this talk on stress management. Somebody suddenly told me to speak this. Now, okay, it's possible that we all have our challenges. It's not hypocrisy. It's just being human. As human, We may know a solution, but to make the solution work at a particular time, it's not. So having some good friends with whom we can share our path is extremely important. That's why we need not just association, but like-minded association. So that is where sometimes our self-talk, we just can't stop it. But we need someone else to stop it for us. So now like-minded association means what? I would say not just like-minded association, but also say like-minded guidance. So like-minded means three things. First is, if we have a friend, we have a guide, so they understand our mind. Or rather, first of all, we can go before that. We understand their mind. That means when they give answers, they give talks, their talks make sense. And different, we are all different. So some devotees, they may give talks about Krishna, but we just don't find them relevant. We don't seem to connect with them. So like-minded, the first step is we understand them. Yeah, what you say makes sense. And then if we talk with them, they understand our mind. Otherwise, sometimes we have a question, and somebody says, "No, you are such a senior devotee. How can you ask it out?" And once you ask such a question, that question is not actually meant for discussion. That question is for condemnation. When you ask, how can you ask such a question? It's a rhetorical question. You should not be asking such a question. No, if they need to understand how. Yeah, everybody can have it. And then, third is, they help us understand our mind. That means, you are thinking like this. And till this point it is right. But here, we are going wrong. So, Sajatiya Asha. Like Sajatiya is like-minded association. So we need that. So if the self-talk is becoming too toxic or too tiresome, then we need to be able to talk with someone. And we need to create those relationships, invest time in those relationships. Generally these will be equal to someone slightly senior. Somebody is way too senior, then we can't really open our heart to them. But somebody is way too junior, it's difficult also. So we need somebody who is at a similar level. Slightly higher is better, but not way too high. Now having said that, that does not mean that we can't do it. What we could do is, when the self-talk is going on too much, just get it out of yourself. That means all the thoughts that are going on in the mind, maybe just journal and write them down. Or maybe just record it. And just get it out, just getting it out will unburden them. And then after a day or so, do some kirtan, do some japa, something which strengthens us, and then revisit it. Then what has happened? Because it has come outside us. Like earlier I said, we should distance ourselves from our mind. When I answered the negative thinking question, that I and my mind are different. But because the mind is so much inside us, it's very difficult to do that. But in this case, the product of the mind is outside of us. It's like something written, which I can read, something recorded, I can hear. And then when I do that, this doesn't really make sense. Here I am worrying too much. Here, I just need to harsh. This is a good point. Here, maybe I need some guidance. So we can, in one sense, evaluate ourselves. So we can't stop the self-talk, but we can sort of externalize it. The self-talk, the word has two different meanings. You could say that there's the self, that means the soul, and there is the mind. So generally, the unhealthy self-talk is that the mind is talking to the mind. But the mind is constantly, you are worthless, you are hopeless, you can never understand this, you will never be up to the mark. So this is negative self-talk. On the other hand, there can also be positive self-talk. This you can say is something like affirmations. So we could find some verses in scripture which we like, some themes from those verses we can take, and we can create our own devotional affirmations. So we want to avoid the negative self-talk, and we want to activate the positive self-talk. Thank you very much.
And you asked him
Karishye vachanantara.
Actually, I had sent a link to the group and some devotees had put their questions. So I think they are also waiting for their answers. At least some of them, I think Prabhuji, if you can take from that list. And maybe we can, if time permits, we can have some more.
I'm happy to do that. But does anyone have any questions related to this topic? Maybe one or two we can take. Because you know, I saw the questions.
Yeah.
They are like a completely different dimension.
Correct. Prabhu, yeah. Different depression. We'll take a couple of questions from here and then we'll go into it.
It's a microscopic font, you know.
Sorry, should I read it for you? I think I'll read
You
it.
can just, maybe you can select the questions.
Yeah, sure.
And you can ask them.
You mentioned the statement like we have to understand what is meaningful for me right now. It is a good thing that we have to think for ourselves. But if you are surrounded by people who think their version of or their definition of meaning is correct for you, what you are thinking meaningful is not right. In case if you are surrounded by such kind of people, then how can we connect ourselves?
Okay. So if I am surrounded by people whose understanding of what is meaningful is different from or opposite to what we consider meaningful, well, that is why social pressure can be such a big problem. You know, society can be a blessing, but society can also be a burden.
Especially with the close and loud ones, this kind of things happen, and it makes us feel like I'm not happy, and at the same time the people whom I love is not happy with me. Such kind of things will come up. So in that situation, how do we conduct ourselves?
Yeah. Well, my understanding would be two broad things. First is that rather than simply saying that I'm not happy with you or you're not happy with me, we need to have a discussion. Okay, what exactly is the concern? Try to understand. You try to understand why that is so important. And we try to help them understand why this is so important. In life, much is dependent on negotiation. Nobody can have everything that they want. Life is not like that. But at the same time, if a person has nothing of what they want, then they will also reach out. That's why there has to be some amount of discussion, negotiation. Try to start from some mutually agreeable point. Because there's intelligence in the mode of goodness. Means to start with commonalities. Then our loved ones, they also want our ultimate welfare. We also want our, not their understanding of ultimate might be different, they also want our welfare. They want our good. We also want our good. So we need to try to have a discussion, and based on that, we evaluate. We try to at least, see, sometimes you could say when there is conflict, there can be something which is understandable. Okay, I understand where you come from. Understandable, but unlikable. I don't like what you are doing, but I understand what you are doing. But at least when that is there, then we can agree to disagree. But when it is not just unlikable, but it is also incomprehensible. When there is conflict, obviously there is a common denominator that something is unlikable. But when it is incomprehensible, then it becomes even more difficult. Why are you doing this? And what is even worse, is when they feel this is unacceptable. I can't accept it. It's unlikable. See, there are many unlikable things which we accept. Social necessity. Unlikable, unacceptable. And this is just outrageous. I just can't accept it. And even below that, you can say something which is reprehensible. Reprehensible, what Prabhupada would use the word abominable. It is terrible. So at least we shouldn't let the misunderstandings go down to that level. We will have differences of opinion. But if there is some communication, at least I understand where you are coming from. So when I understand where you are coming from, then I don't agree, I don't accept. I don't agree, I don't like it, but I'll accept it. They say, okay, this is important for me. I'll try this for maybe 6 months, 1 year, 5 years. If it doesn't work out, then we'll try it here, whatever. Then we can come to some agreement. If we expect that there should be no disagreement, then that expectation itself is enough for frustration. But we can disagree without becoming disagreeable or disrespectful. You don't have to become dismissive of the other person. So understand their concerns and help them understand our concerns. And then gradually move forward towards some kind of negotiated understanding. If you see, in the Bhagavatam, Dhruva wanted a kingdom bigger than his father's. And Narada told him, just go back home. It's a small thing. It is just children, they sometimes quarrel, just go back home. And if you think you're not a child, you're an evolved person, then they don't take honors and dishonor so seriously, go back. And Dhruva said, what you are saying is true, but it doesn't find any place in my life. It's actually that statement of Dhruva, a small 5-year-old child, but it's actually a very instructive statement of both respect and frankness. What you're saying is true, but it doesn't work for me. And Narada didn't say, who do you think you are? Don't you know who I am? I am the Guru of Vyasdev who wrote all the literature. You're just a 5-year-old boy. How dare you counter? No, Narada Muni didn't try to use his authority to stand down. Dhruva said, okay, let's see what works for you. And then they had discussion. So we need to negotiate. It's difficult. Sometimes difficult discussions are difficult. But they are what are necessary to prevent further misunderstandings, further alienation of the relationship. So, yes, okay. Last question from the current questions. You want to take that? Yes, sir.
Last question.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Very nice discussion is going on. Really helpful. So my question is, if a devotee comes to depression, it might be of the past practices what he had done wrong. So if out of depression, a devotee commits suicide, what would happen to him? And what other members of his family should do to elevate that soul?
Okay. If a devotee commits suicide, his suicide is tragic. And generally, if someone is committing suicide, personally, I will never talk about that person becoming a ghost or something like that. No. Even if somebody becomes a ghost, the Paramatma is still there. So, yes, in this life, they felt that there's no meaning to their life, there's no point to live. Wherever they have gone, they are still with God. We don't say they have gone to God. That is not true. But wherever they have gone, God is still with them and God will guide them forward. So see, in general, there is a complex relationship between the spiritual side and the material side. So generally speaking, when a person commits suicide, basically what happens is our body is like a home that we are renting. And say I'm supposed to live in the body for 60 years. And suppose that it's a system where the government gives you quarters. And the government is going to give you quarters after some time. After this quarters, your tenure gets over. But suppose you destroy the quarters, then you will be homeless. That person will be homeless. So like that, if somebody commits suicide, if we were in this, supposed to be in this body for 60 years. So if 60 years was supposed to be lifespan, in this life, or in this body, and then the next body they're going to get. So if somebody commits suicide, then what happens is, for the next 30 years, they exist in a disembodied state. The soul is there with the subtle body, but no gross body. And that is what is called as a ghost. So ghost is basically a soul with a subtle body. Most of us are souls with subtle body and gross body. So that person will have to stay as a soul with a subtle body for that much period. That's what normally happens to a person when they commit suicide. So there is a material principle and there is a spiritual principle. So now, from a material perspective, somebody has ended their body prematurely, and they will be in a disembodied condition. But the spiritual principle is that they have and whatever bhakti we have practiced, whatever spirituality we have practiced, that is never lost. So that means that their spiritual inclination will always be there. And because of that spiritual inclination, that person may be a ghost, but that ghost will go to some devotional place. That ghost may go to Vrindavan, Mayapur, and there the ghost will hear from Krishna Katha, the ghost will hear Kirtans, and the ghost will continue on in that spiritual journey. So, action at a material level will have a material consequence. But that does not mean action at a spiritual level are lost. Just like there's the story of Jada Bharat. Bharat Maharaj, he died thinking of a deer. So he became a deer in his next life. But still, he had been practicing bhakti. So his bhakti was not lost. He became a deer, he got the body of a deer. That is a material action and a material consequence. But at a spiritual level, he was not like an ordinary deer. He was a very spiritual deer. He would stay near the hermitages, near the Vedic chants, and he would not just go and look for wherever there is grass, green grass. Whatever grass was near the hermitage, he would eat that and be satisfied. So that's what will happen to a person. Now, as for the family who is left behind, we need to assure them that they are with God. That person is with God. Not with God, they want God. God is with them. And Krishna is guiding them forward. And that person should, people who are left, there is a suicide survivor's guilt. Maybe I could have done something to prevent that person from committing suicide. Or maybe I did something which pushed them over the edge. So we have to help them become free from that guilt. Whatever happened, we don't want to blame the person who committed suicide. You have to understand that whatever has happened, everyone is moving forward. We also keep moving forward. That way we can solace them. Solace them about the destination of the person who is departed, and solace them about their own culpability or guilt. Does that answer the question?
Can we go? Like.
Hare Krishna. So there are close to 22 questions here, but I'm sure we cannot take all the 22 questions right now. What I have done to be fair is there are some questions which are related to husband, wife and grahastha issues. which I believe we can sort out next week when Swastika is here. Yeah, not that we can't answer here or discuss them here, but I felt we can prioritize. And some questions are a little generic in nature, so like how to improve chanting. I think we can keep doing that for a long time and we can continue those. I'm just kind of without any partiality, I've selected some questions which we hope that we'll try to finish. So I'll just read it out. I have not written this in English, it's directly coming from the text that everybody has typed, so I just want to repeat it. If you are here and you want to clarify more, you can always lift your hand or we'll see if the question is self-explanatory. Question number 1. Senses have a tendency of getting addicted when they are like anything. Mind is automatically attracted to anything senses like. Mind and senses seem to be tightly interlinked, and it makes it even more difficult to control senses as mind is never stable. Is there any way we can remove the connection between mind and senses and handle them separately? This is my question.
My mind and senses can get addicted to questions like this. You said you will not be partial. Okay. Well, in general, whatever are the tendencies of the mind and senses. You can sit here or you can sit wherever comfortably. So, in general, whatever are the tendencies of the mind and senses, it's very difficult to fight with a pre-existing tendency. It is, say, every tendency that is developed. There is a potential that the mind gets, senses get addicted. But there is also the reality that they are addicted to something. When they are addicted to something, that has already become very strong. And to say no to it is very difficult. So, rather than trying to fight to give up a bad habit, we try to fight to create a good habit. And then let that good habit fight with the bad habit. It's like, suppose we are going through a particular area and there is some big hug who always threatens us, torments us, injures us. Now, I may think that I'll become strong enough and I'll beat up the thug. Well, that may happen, but that's going to take a long time. Instead, you hire a bodyguard and let the bodyguard fight with the thug. So, like that, if I have a habit, say I tend to overeat, I tend to spend too much time on social media, this, whatever it is. Now, instead of saying, I will not do that, try to see what is it that I would like to do. Maybe instead of spending so much time on social media, I want to study before. And I don't have time to study because I spend so much time on social media. Okay. But whenever we can, start studying, start reading Bhagavad 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And as you start reading, especially if we read, generally the best way to understand scripture is read and hear together. We read some words and hear some class of reference. The systematic, the combination of oral and written tradition is very powerful. But we start doing the positive thing. And as we start doing that, we come, this is good. I want to do it. We may relax and we spend time on social media again. But then okay, come back again. Do what we can. Over a period of time, the mind, in one sense, as you said, tends to get addicted. The mind is value neutral. Value neutral means that the mind, whatever is repeated for it, the mind will get habituated. So, it is just the conditioning of the mind. And that, so instead of, say, let's consider this. This is is my favorite example for explaining the body-mind machine. Now the body, mind, soul. They are like the hardware, software, and user. So, so the mind is like our software. And the software, say if we are using our browser to visit some website. Have any of you heard of this thing?
No.
Bollywood. It's Bollywood. Okay, so Bollywood. Now, suppose somebody has visited a particular website called Bollywood.com many times, and whenever they type B, what happens?
Bollywood comes.
Bollywood.com automatically. Now they come to a spiritual talk like this, and they hear about the Bhagavad Gita, and they want to know more about it. So they open their browser and type B. What happens?
Bollywood comes.
They want to go to Bhagavad Gita, but Bollywood.com. Why did Bollywood.com come? The browser is not your enemy. Now the only thing you can do is, in our browser we can delete history, but the mind doesn't have that button to delete history. But if we just keep visiting Bhagavad.com again and again and again, sometimes we may type B and we forget to type H and go to Bollywood.com and we get lost for some time. Okay. As soon as you realize it, come back to Bhagavad.com. If you just keep visiting Bhagavad.com again and again and again, over a period of time, what will happen? You will type B, Bhagavad.com. So similarly for us, that things which we are habituated to, the mind just auto-completes those things. We go towards those things. So relatively speaking, just type B and go to Bollywood.com. It's very easy. You just have to press one enter. But you have to go to Bhagavad.com, it requires effort. You have to type 12 letters. But just keep doing that. So don't resent that Bollywood.com is coming as autocomplete. Don't get too upset if sometimes it becomes autocomplete and we go over there. As soon as you realize, stop and go back to Bhagavad-gita. And if you just keep doing that, then the Bhagavad.com will come as autocomplete. And then what you will have to do is, if you want to go to Bollywood.com, you will have to type the full word. So similarly for us, see, the mind is basically a creature of repetition. That's why don't try to fight the bad habit. Bollywood.com should not come. No. Create a good habit. Just keep visiting Bollywood.com. And let the good habit fight with the bad habit.
Thank you.
Prabhuji, today's Prabhupada quote is also, habit is the second nature.
Oh,
Yeah. Next question. ISKCON being a preaching organization, everyone needs to preach. But how can an introvert like me, who is reserved and shy to approach people, can preach? How can I do or support the organization in such a scenario?
okay. So, see, ISKCON is the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. It is not the International Society for Preaching Krishna Consciousness. No, it is. Of course, outreach is important, but it is Krishna consciousness that is most important. And Krishna consciousness can be cultivated in many different ways. So, is it that going out and talking to new people is an important service? But is that the only service? No. Krishna consciousness, when the Krishna consciousness is there, that means that there is a culture, there is a society, there is infrastructure for all that. There are so many things that are involved in this, and all of them have their place and their purpose. So yes, in every community, certain services may be more visible, more glamorized than others. But that doesn't mean that those are the only ways to contribute. So, for example, if somebody is, say, a very good cook, and they cook nice food for you, They don't really like to go and talk with people. But what are they doing? By cooking that nice food, they are attracting people to Krishna. So if we consider Krishna consciousness as a complete culture, if somebody wants to become a painter, these paintings are so beautiful. Now, who made those paintings, they spent hours and hours. If they had been going out and distributing books and things like that, then they would not have been able to do these things. See, every specialization, to be good in anything, requires dedication to that thing. And dedication to that thing means that a person may have to cut down on other things. So basically, we can look at it in this way that, as I said, the first part is we are a society for cultivating Krishna consciousness. And Krishna consciousness can be cultivated by spreading it wider, it's going out to new people. But it can also be spread deeper. You come to a temple, if there are no beautiful paintings, then there will be only one stimulus. If you look at the altar or you look at the speaker. But here, wherever you look, there is no consumption. So you want to provide more and more. So you can say, when you talk about spreading Krishna consciousness, you can spread it wider, you can spread it deeper. So spreading it wider could mean going out to new people, to bring them to Krishna. But also deeper means you take those people closer to Krishna. So there are many ways to be Krishna conscious. And rather than thinking of preaching only as meeting new people and talking with them, we can also say that whatever it is that we are inclined to do, whatever it is that we will comfortably do, we do it for Krishna. And having said that, even introverts, they may not want to talk with people in general. But they can also talk in their forums. That means sometimes, see, it's not that introverts don't like people. They like people, but they like people in moderation. That means, and if I talk with one person, then I need my time. Then I can talk with another person. So you can talk in your terms. I sometimes travel with one devotee. We travel like this. And both of us are trying to share Krishna Bhakti. But our modes are very different. If I am in a flight, the first thing is, I want to write something, I want to read something. And in the flight, he's looking for someone to talk. Now, if I'm on a flight, I really like to talk with people. Not that I don't like to talk with people. But that's, unless that person has some interest, some curiosity, I feel as if I don't trust myself on the person. So, I mean, after that person has some interest, they'll ask questions. If they're not asking questions, then it's just not me to force Krishna on someone. That doesn't mean that devotee have a maybe greater spiritual spirit, maybe. But this is how I'm comfortable. If I had been in that other person's place, I wouldn't have wanted somebody to preach to me, force themselves on me. So I won't do that. So we can serve Krishna according to our nature. So if somebody is an extrovert, they will look for people. Someone to talk with Krishna. Somebody is not. Okay, that's fine. You can find your way to serve Krishna. Now, in general, let's say, and last point I think. Now there are, in our movement, we have a lot of teachers, but we don't have a lot of writers. In the last 10 years, a lot of people have started writing. But see, there are so many forums in which writing can be done. And I was at an interfaith conference where there was one Christian pastor was telling that they aim for, if you have 10 preachers, you should have one writer. But I would say in our movement, like we have 500 preachers and we may have one writer. There are a lot of people who are reached by writing. So people who are introverts, they may not be speakers, but they can be writers. And the blogosphere is huge. You can write, you can draw, you can use your creative arts. So you can reach out to people that way also. So there are many services. If you tell an extrovert to sit and write, that will be torture. I want to go and talk to him. So an introvert can do services extroverts can't. They are also required for for the work of outreach.
Thank you, Prabhu. Little completely different question. What is the relevance of dreams or dreaming while we are all asleep? Are these planted by Lord Krishna, or are these correction messages from past deeds, or some kind of messaging to impute future or probable manifestations? If yes, then how can we dream with Krishna consciousness?
So what exactly are dreams? If you consider, this is the Atma, around that is the subtle body, around that is the gross body, and around that is the outer body. So when the Chaitanya of the Atma, so the soul, subtle body, and gross body. So now, when the consciousness of the soul comes from the subtle body to the gross body to the outer body, that is the state called Jagruti. Jagruti is the awakened stage. That is the stage in which most of you are. Hopefully. Now, when the consciousness comes, when the Chaitanya comes just to the subtle body and slightly out, this is the Swapna stage. So Swapna is where consciousness is present but is not manifest at the physical. When consciousness is barely manifest, this is Sushupti. And then you could say, when the consciousness just goes beyond, when the consciousness goes beyond towards Krishna, that is the Samadhi stage, that is the Turiya stage. So at one level, Swapna is where the consciousness is coming to subtle body, but not the gross body so much. Now, when this is happening, we may experience various things. And Srila Prabhupada generally didn't give too much importance to dreams. Prabhupada said that dreams are basically concatenations. We may have seen gold, we may have seen a mountain. In our dream, we may see a golden mountain. So some perceptions from protection which are there, from our day-to-day, from Jagruti that are there, the mind combines them in some order. Now, Baldev Bhushan in this Govinda Bhashya talks about dreams in a little more detail. What he says is that we all have some Purva Karma. And based on our Purva Karma, we get some phala. So, for example, somebody may get made an accident, somebody gets some disease. That is because of negative Purva. So, he says that if there is a major negative karma, then the results come in the Jagruti stage, at the physical level. But if there is minor negative karma, then the results may come in the Swapna stage, at the more subtle level. That means that some people get nightmares. Now, we all may sometimes get nightmares. But sometimes some people get nightmares very, very frequently. Now, that's actually, it can be a big problem. Some people, I had one person in Canada, he said, I'm afraid to sleep. As soon as I sleep, I start getting nightmares. It's a very difficult situation to be. One of the names of Vishnu, in the Vishnu Sahasranam is Duswapnanashana. Why? Because Duswapna is also a big problem. So what happens in our dreams is a result of our past. So at one level it's just a random concatenation of images. But which images come when? That depends on past. So now, are there some messages for us in our dreams? Well, generally our tradition has not emphasized that so much. There may be, but it's like looking for a needle in a haystack. There is so much random going on and then occasionally there is some message that's not very, it's not worth spending the time on. But sometimes if Krishna comes in our dreams, sometimes the spiritual master comes in our dreams, then maybe that has to be taken seriously. But even then, that has to be taken very carefully seriously. Generally, once I devotee told Prabhupada, early in 1960s, Swamiji, you came in my dream and told me to take LSD. Prabhupada said, that was not me, that was Maya in my God. So, generally, if Guru or Krishna come in our dream, what they tell us in Jagruti, that is what, something similar to that, they will reinforce in something. If they're telling us the opposite, then something is wrong over there. So generally don't take Shobana so seriously. That's the broad attitude of our tradition. Some people go into a lot of dream reading and stuff like that. If somebody has some specific interest, they can do that, but overall that's not required. So Prabhu mentioned stuff. No, I'm asking you.
What is the time?
1:45.
It's 1:45. How long can you go?
How long can I go? I used to think that my stamina is more than the audience stamina, but you are changing my conception.
We used to 3 to 4 hours.
So,
It's 1:45. 15 is okay. So, next question. Where is mind in the body?
where is mind in the body? Well, it's like asking where the software in the hardware. So you can say that the software is in a CPU or this or that. But if you consider, there are two ways of looking at it. Is the mind, it's localized or is it distributed? So if you consider, Krishna talks about earth, water, fire, air, ether, all of them as one sequence, isn't it? So now, where is earth in the body? The earth is distributed. Water is distributed. So similarly, you can say the mind is also distributed. Is it in one place? Well, I don't think so. I haven't found in Sankhya any specific statement which says where the mind is. So, my understanding is, as far as I read, it's distributed. But then, although it is distributed, you can say it has the capacity to become localized at a particular point. That means that if I have pain somewhere, then my entire mind gets focused on the pain and I become oblivious of everything else. Okay? So, it is distributed, but it can become localized depending on which stimuli is especially severe or captivating. So, maybe all of us can just stand up and stretch for a couple of minutes. And I will maybe your mind is localized in your body.
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama. Hare Rama, Hare
Well, Prabhu is taking a small break. If you all can sit down, there are a few announcements I can make before Prabhu comes back. We have stretched. We have localized and distributed. Everybody just settle down, just a couple of announcements and then Prabhu will come. Just few more questions. I'm sure some of you are waiting for your questions to be questioned. Or rather answered. Yeah. Can everybody settle down, please? Hare Krishna. Yeah. tried to find the same place, but we left. Hare Krishna.
Hare.
Mataji's, can you please settle down? Hare Krishna. Prabhuji's, please settle down. Yeah. There is lunch prasadam. It will be upstairs, but I request you to please wait for a few more minutes. There's important announcements, and Prabhuji also will give a concluding word of his visit here. Hare Krishna. Mataji's, Subhadra Mataji, and Dr. Hare Krishna. Yeah. Hare Krishna. So, the announcements, yes. So we have next week we have His Grace Dwarkadish Prabhu and Vishaka Priya Mataji coming here. How many of you don't know them? Can you lift your hand? Okay, then you have to come and know them. So please come and know them. They are wonderful couple. They are coming from Bombay. They will answer a lot of our questions relating to balancing spiritual life, Hasta Ashram, and Mataji is also conducting pre-marriage seminars for Matajis, and Prabhuji is also taking some similar sessions. So please make yourself available. So next week on Friday evening, on Monday evening we have a class here. That is just before the Independence Day, 14th of August, Monday evening. Please give some space for Prabhuji. So Monday evening we have a class here. And 15th of August, please, this is the most important announcement. So 15th of August is Independence Day for our country, and it is also a day which is a holiday for all of us, right? So if you have made any other plans, you can call them and tell you are not available. So on 15th of August, we are all going together to Yadadri temple. So everybody will arrange your own commute, whichever way you want to come. But we have to reach there. So we have to reach there by 8:15. Please mind you, 8:15 we have to reach there. Which means whichever part of the city you have to start, you can calculate back. Right? So 8:15 we reach there, because from 8:30 break darshan starts. Meaning after that, there is a different process of darshan. Before that, free darshan. And we all will do Sankirtan and enter the temple. And it's a different experience of going with devotees to a holy place. So don't miss this opportunity. If you think you have seen Yadadri, then you have not seen Yadadri. Because with devotees you'll actually feel the presence of Nrsimhadev and all the pastimes that have happened there. And after that, we are going to a place right after the darshan. Around 10:30, we will go to Nanda Gokulam, which is a beautiful farm community of devotees who live there. It's 70 to 80 acres of land, and Goshala, Gurukul, and so many things. So it's like a picnic for the whole family as well. So 11 to 1 o'clock, we're going to have a lecture there by Prabhuji and Mataji. 1 to 2, lunch. And then 2 to 3, there is some Sankirtan by some special devotees who are coming there. And from 3 to 4, visit of the place. So, there is this beautiful Goshala, new Gurukul being constructed. And there is a nice hill beside, and there is a lake beside the hill. If somebody goes into the lake, there is no rescue operation. So you can come back. Around 5 o'clock, you can start back from there and come back to Gachibowli by 7. So this is a plan on your own commute, right? So please plan your cars. Don't message asking whose car has seats. Go and find your person who has seats. So it's difficult to manage when we are 200 plus. We are arranging for prasadam for everybody. So please give your counts right after I ask next week. And if somebody needs a ride, let's pull up and say that we need it like this, and we can try to arrange. So there are a few more announcements, but we'll go forward with our questions here since Prabhuji is already available. Yeah. Can we go to the next question? Hare Krishna. So, how to get rid of the thoughts of a painful past? How to not let it affect my present, since Krishna already took care of everything smoothly?
So, how to deal with painful thoughts from the past? We are all affected by our past. We can't avoid that. Suppose somebody had an accident and that body got scarred or that body got wounded. Now some wounds can be cured. Some wounds can't be cured. Now somebody said loses a limb. They don't get the limb back. Either the fracture can leave the fracture. So in many ways, it's helpful to see the mind as similar to the body. Now, with respect to the body, we know that some scars, some injuries can be cured, some can't be cured. Similarly, with respect to the mind, some wounds, some painful memories, which are like wounds for us. So, just like in the body, there is something which is curable, something which is uncurable. So the same applies to the mind. And if some wounds from the past are not cured, then we don't have to beat ourselves up or feel guilty for them. Nor do we have to feel hopeless for it. It's like you live with injury or you live with that weakness. Some people have an accident, they have some back pain. They have to be cautious. Okay, I have a weak back, I can't lift up my weights. It's an inconvenience, but it's not life threatening. We just have to acknowledge the limitations. Now, with respect to the mind, things become a little more difficult. Because with respect to the body, we can broadly, medical advice, we can say some things are curable, which things are curable, which things are not curable. But with respect to the mind, it will be difficult to know, and it may also be different for different people. Like these two people go through the same accident, and one person recovers from it very quickly. The other person just doesn't recover. That keeps replaying in their mind again and again and again. So the key is, don't fixate on how I can stop that past memory. So there are two things. We can't choose our memories. Our memories have already been formed. But we can choose what we focus our consciousness. There is some data inside my mind that is already there. And I can't, I have some file in my computer, I can't delete it. But just because I can't delete it doesn't mean I have to open it all. So if I am here and there was something terrible that happened to me in the past, so there is some past tragedy. But the key is to put something behind us. We have to put something ahead of us. So put something ahead of us. That means find out what is important for me to do. What is valuable for me, even with my limitation. Okay, what can I do in my life? So when we have that something which we can focus on, that which we can visualize, that which we can use, generally when the memory starts replaying, there's also a lot of imagination associated. So for us, we need to find a positive direction for our imagination. So imagination is also a faculty. In some people it is stronger than others. In some things it will be stronger than others. So for each person also. So find something to put ahead. So for example, okay, I have this injury or whenever some people, whenever they come to a close, they come close to the edge of a mountain or something, you get to get confused. Simple example. Now you may want to, they have some hope with another mind, something like that, where you have a mountain. They just may not be able to go. If they can't go up, there's no need to feel guilty. But just because we can't go to Ahvita Narasimha temple doesn't mean you can't come to the Gachibowli temple. There are things we can do. So, in one sense, when we say service attitude, often seva bhav, when we use that word, that means come to temple and do some seva. That's true, but service attitude also has a much more bigger meaning. See, when somebody is a servant, somebody is a saver, that means they are not the boss. They don't have full control over it. So, service attitude, in one sense, it means to accept our limitations. That I have this much sphere in my country. If I am a servant, then that means this is the area of my service. Beyond that is not my service. So accept our limitations. But that's not all that a servant does. Okay, my service is to maybe cook a particular food item or help with the cooking. Now I can't control who's going to give the class. Sometimes there may be a good speaker, sometimes there is not some good speaker. I have to accept that's not my service right now. But then what is my service? I need to do it. Isn't it? So accept our limitation, that's one part, and accept our responsibility within our limitations. So this principle, this broad understanding of service attitude can actually be very empowering, not just dealing with psychological traumas, but in every area of life. Suppose we are in a family relationship with someone who is not equally interested in work. Then they accept our limitation. Everybody has certain limitations. Accept that limitation. But within that, what is my responsibility? How can I do as much work as possible? How can I maintain this relationship? So we may have to live with that mental trauma or mental injury, but we can still move ahead. If we expect that memory to go away, maybe it will, maybe it won't. We don't know in advance what is curable, what is not. But we can always put something ahead of us and thereby give ourselves fresh memories.
Thank you, Prabhu. Actually, you answered a couple of questions I was going to ask almost in this line. So, like one of the devotee, it's a long question, but I'm just reading the main part. So, they're saying, like, that person likes to read a lot instead of doing physical service. So, and it becomes uncomfortable to explain why that person is not able to do a lot of physical service as compared to some services like reading and self-immersing. So, question is, do I need to clarify my stance to everybody who asks me about this, or not worry about clarification and just continue to do what I'm doing until I'm in a position to engage in more physical services?
Should we clarify if you're not able to do some service? Well, it depends on how important other people's opinion is for us. Now, I like to play with words. So, detachment, it can mean many things. But one aspect of detachment is to respect others' right to be wrong. This, when we detach from someone, now this can be that they have a right to their own opinion, their own ideas, and I respect that. And we respect their right to be wrong in their opinions. And that could be also about us. Sometimes some people, we can clarify and they'll understand. Some people will clarify and they'll just not understand. So we can't just make our life a clarification mission. No, those who devotees are important for us, our guides, our mentors, we explain to them. If they understand us, we can be sure, we can be secure in that. But if some other devotees are important for us, then we talk with them. But to some extent, we need detachment. The easiest way to make ourselves unhappy is to try to make everyone happy. That doesn't mean the easiest way to make ourselves happy is to make everyone unhappy. That is not true. But we just can't satisfy everyone.
Hare Krishna. It is said we live in a world of hypocrisy and quarrel. How to deal with scenarios where we see hypocrisy in devotees, though it exists within us, to be seeing in them.
If we see hypocrisy in devotees, does that mean that it exists within us and that's why we are seeing it in others? Well, yes, Bhakti Thakur did say that at one particular point. First of all, I find hypocrisy to be too harsh a word. Why? Because in general, people say there is inside and there is outside. Now, rather, and there is always a distance. That means we may act in a particular way. I may see someone and say, please accept my humble obeisances. Internally, I feel like beating that person or yelling at that person. I feel very angry with that person. That's awesome. Now, is that hypocrisy? If somebody says one thing and either it could be the distance between our emotion and our action, or it could be a distance between our words and our actions. And so there could be also words and actions, there could be a distance. So is that hypocrisy? But it could be, but it's not always hypocrisy. There are multiple possibilities. See, one is that this inner outer distance is because of culture. That means, let's say, in a cultured society, if we are, sometimes we may also get angry with our elders. But we won't yell at our elders. Now, okay, if you are angry, why don't you yell? No. Just because something is inside doesn't mean it has to come outside. So sometimes the inner outer difference is a sign of culture. And it's a good thing. We keep it inside and gradually deal with it inside. If the anger comes, anger goes inside. Sometimes the inner outer difference can also be due to discipline. That means I'm fasting and I have a strong desire to eat food. And I said, I'm not going to do it. If you have a desire, why don't you act on it? No, it's discipline. So inner outer difference, in this case, what is happening is we are acting in a particular way outside, and in one sense, what is outside, we want to get it also inside. Isn't it? That means, yeah, I'm not going to yell, but I also don't want to feel angry. I want to deal with this. I decided to fast, and I want to eventually get to a level that I don't feel that craving. So if we are doing the outside so that we can develop the inside, then that is not about hypocrisy. Then sometimes this outside is a difference might just be because of ritual. Ritual means a small child goes to a temple with the parents, the child becomes a teenager, and they have no interest in going to the temple. But the parents are pushing, and the child doesn't want any conflict with the family. They go. So ritual means it's outside, but no desire for inside. You do it just from outside as a ritual. That's not the best thing. Over a period of time, the person, as soon as they get some opportunity to get away from the outside, they will stop it. But it's only the last. So last is hypocrisy. Hypocrisy is the outside is just a guard to develop the opposite inside. That means I am polite and friendly with you so that you lower your guard and you reveal some secret to me. And then I disgrace you and defame you. So when somebody is having that outside inside difference, to exploit, to cover up. That is box. So now, in general, when there is this outside-inside difference, we don't know why the difference is. It's difficult for us to know because we can't really look at people's mouths. So my understanding would be that if we see that difference in someone, somebody speaks a particular thing and doesn't do that, then why are they doing that? Maybe when they're speaking it, they're inspired to do it. But when they have to do it, their inspiration goes away. It's not necessarily hypocrisy. It could be like that. Now, can it be hypocrisy? It can be. But in general, it's best not to jump to that conclusion right away. But having said that, if we feel uncomfortable, if we find it uncomfortable, a distance between outside and inside, then what to do? Then keep a distance from that human. Certainly, if that kind of difference is there and it jars us, then it won't be inspiring for us. So we need inspiring association. So we look for that association which is inspiring, and this kind of association we keep a little distance. Now, are we seeing that outside-inside difference because there is outside-inside difference in us? Well, possibly. There is outside-inside difference in everyone. Nobody is entirely internally what they are externally. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. So I don't think we need to mix the two things. Where the problem comes is that I have a fault-finding mentality. And I'm always looking for the fault-finding. So when Bhakti Thakur uses that, it's like constant criticism of people. And it's because you have flaws, so you are noticing flaws in others. So otherwise, if somebody, this kind of thing is disturbing us, we seek inspiration from elsewhere. And then we can also see clarification from somebody whom we are close to. When this devotee does like this, I feel disturbed. Okay, then they explain. Somebody might be very shocked at and they yell at others. Devotee shouldn't be behaving like this. Yeah, that's true. But different people come from different backgrounds. Maybe they are yelling and we feel upset by that. But maybe before they came to Bhakti, they would not even yelling, they would have been punching. So they have come a long way from where they are. Now where they are, we might still be uncomfortable with that. And that's fair enough. But we don't have to condemn them as being hypocrites. If we at all see something which is clearly hypocritical, then maybe we report to the authorities and some action can be taken. But generally don't jump to that conclusion. Hypocrisy is a very strong word and it presumes that we know what is inside the other person. Last question, please stop this.
Yes, Hare Krishna. Just 1 minute left, but I'll just take one last question. What professions aspiring devotees should not take to? Like they become politicians, for example, to protect Sanatana Dharma.
So are you saying they should not or should?
Should not take. I mean, is there any caution that devotees should not take up certain professions?
Are there some professions which devotees should not take up? Well, generally anything that involves direct breaking of the four Ahimsa principles, we should avoid that. A devotee should not start a slaughterhouse. Isn't it? That's obvious. But beyond that, we all have our guna and karma. So guna means that which we are comfortable doing. And karma refers to that which we are competent at doing. So, in one sense, there is no restriction for anyone to come to Bhakti. So anybody can practice Bhakti. And say if tomorrow somebody is a cricket player, somebody has acting talent, somebody has cricket talent, somebody has various kinds of talents. We can say in certain professions there is more glamour than others, there is more maya than others. Yes, but the point is that the maya doesn't affect everybody to the same degree. If somebody has a great interest in acting, this is not a recommendation that everybody can act, that's not the point. But if somebody has a deep innate calling for acting, then even if in that world there is a lot of Maya, their interest will be more in acting than in the Maya world. So, if somebody doesn't have that innate attraction, then they will be caught by the Maya alone. When Krishna says Paradharma Bhayavaha, Paradharma Bhayavaha means what? That basically, whenever we do any work, there are two results. One is an intrinsic result, intrinsic satisfaction, you could say intrinsic result, and the second is an extrinsic result. So now, in an ideal or successful life, we get both, intrinsic and extrinsic. That means, say, if somebody is an author, or somebody has a writing tendency. I know one devotee friend, he says, when he was a small child, when his mother gave him noodles, he would take the noodles, instead of eating them, make them into letters. So he had that bug for writing. It is not a bug, it's a tendency towards writing right from childhood. So there is some people, if somebody is, in one sense, they have the psychophysical nature, they are guna karma to be a writer, then even if nobody reads them, this writing will give them joy. There is one famous author who said that I get far more joy in having written than in being written. Now, of course, every author wants to be read. But the point is, if we are doing something according to our nature, we get intrinsic satisfaction. That does not mean that we don't care for extrinsic satisfaction. But we don't care so much for it that we start crossing ethical lines. That we start compromising on our values. Some people, they have no interest. I'm talking about writing because that's my interest. But the same principle could apply to anything else. Some people, they have no interest in writing. They just want the fame that I'm a writer. So they may employ a ghostwriter, and the ghostwriter writes the book, and they pay the ghostwriter, and they get published in their author. But then when you read a ghostwriter's book, you see how that person speaks and how the book is written. Such a huge difference. This is not you. So of course, ghostwriters can try to imitate the author's work. But the point is, for them there is no intrinsic satisfaction. So in general, if there is, so how do we know that this particular work is my calling? How do I know that this particular work is what I should be doing? It is, if nobody in the world recognizes me for doing this, would I still want to do it? Well, you may say that's very rare that somebody will immediately have an answer. But I said there are some things that are intrinsically meaningful. So we can, anybody, I mean, there can be a very wide variety of people who can have different varieties of professions. So I will say that any profession has to be in advance ruled out. But it's just that, are you getting, if we are getting interested, even if that profession is filled with distraction, Maya, if we are getting intrinsic satisfaction, then we won't be so carried away by the extrinsic. So what may be Maya for one person may not be Maya for another person. For somebody who is so much in love with, say, music, that they get a lot of fame as a musician. But it's not that, say, all famous musicians are spoiled brats. There are some people who are also kind and gentle and giving. Why? Because they get joy in music, they don't get carried away by the fame. But somebody else, they get the fame, they get the popularity, they get the sensual pleasure, they get carried away. So, if we are to seek a particular profession, then if I don't get recognition, if I don't get fame, will I want to do it? So I will just conclude this. Krishna consciousness is very, very inclusive. I was in one country, down under the city. So there, I met one devotee Mataji. So she has a Hare Krishna dog care center. So I was initially taken aback. So she called it she called not Hare Krishna, she called it Krishna. The Krishna dog care center. So she said she grew up. So when I talked with her, she said she grew up as an orphan. She was a small child, she had a pet dog, and her parents died in an accident. So she was taken to a foster care. And she said the only constant in my childhood was my dog. I went from one foster care to another, but I had this dog. And then when that dog died, I was heartbroken, but then I got another dog. So a dog's care was like a constant in my life. And then she said, I came to Bhakti and then pets are distractions, not are pets. So I said chanting Hare Krishna, but I was remembering dog. So she said now she has actually created a dog care center where what they do is they have small gentle dogs who are trained to act as support of friends for children who have been traumatized. She lost her parents. So children who are traumatized or something, they find it difficult to socialize. So she has created this center. And now in that dog care center, she has put nice pictures of Krishna everywhere. And the kids come, they are sitting with the dog, they are patting the dog, playing with the dog. And she tells them Krishna stories, she has some Krishna music. Now you may not find this profession in the Varnashram. But in one sense, I said the Artha and Paramatma. For her, that relationship with the dog was a meaningful, stable relationship for her and her child. That was her Artha. And now she has a relationship with Krishna. If you tell her, give up the Artha to pursue Paramatma, that may not work. So Krishna consciousness is quite inclusive. And rather than saying that you have to rule out certain professions, we have to check whether that profession will rule out Krishna Paramatma. If that is not happening, the person is focused, then the person can pursue different professions and still be able to stay Krishna conscious. At the time of dying, will she remember Krishna or dog? Well, it depends. My understanding would be that sometimes, we all have to deal with our desires in different ways. That means, if I have worldly desires, if I have worldly attachments, there are some desires, we work on those desires. Work on means, I try to get present purified of that. There are some desires, we work with those desires. If this desire, I cannot get rid of. No, I have a particular dream, I have to do this thing. So you work with it. But there are some desires, we have to work for those desires. Because that's the way to deal with it. See, it is not, we say like if a desire is fulfilled, it will grow. But it's not that simple. Dharma, artha, kama also leads to moksha. So if there is only kama without dharma and artha, then the kama will become dushpuram. And that kama will become insatiable. But if there is dharma and artha, then the kama will gradually be transcended. So, is it that she will remember a dog at the time of death? Maybe, maybe not. Who knows? That dog will remind her of Krishna. That you think of a dog, and a dog, love be my child. Ultimately, Krishna is the source of all love. So a dog's love can remind a person of God's love. Now for some people, a dog may be a competitor to God. For others, a dog may be a friend to God. We don't know how things work in individual people's lives. That's why it's important that we not impose our cultural standards on everyone. Like say if somebody is depressed, now adopting a pet like a dog or a cat is considered to be one of the, at least in the Western world, one of the least intrusive ways of dealing with depression. Now because the depression itself is tamasic, but it's a tamasic more, but you can use a tamasic way to deal with it, just pop up some pills. As compared to popping some pills, maybe adopting a pet is better. I'm not recommending adopting a pet. But my point is, for that person, God is nowhere in the reference. With that person right now, you just have to think of something higher. Instead of compulsive pill addiction, an affection to a dog is better. And over a period of time, the person will get relieved. So in general, if we are only pursuing a material desire without having any spiritual desire at all, then the material desire will keep growing and keep entangling us. But if we are having some material desire, we are also pursuing a spiritual desire. Then what will happen is, gradually that material desire will lose its spell on us. And that its spell on us will decrease. So it will happen gradually. It won't happen immediately. But we may say that if that person has a very strong attachment to God, then all that will happen is they try to practice bhakti, they cannot practice bhakti, and they give up bhakti itself. So we worry about whether they will remember Krishna at the time of death, but they may not remember Krishna in this life itself. So there are many things which can be distractions from Krishna, but all things are not equally distracting. I was in Silicon Valley and I met one person. He is one of the top 25 software industry in Silicon Valley. And he is now part of one spiritual organization and a very active leading member role. And he told me that he was introduced to bhakti through my lecture, through spirituality in general, through my class which I had given in about 20 years ago in IIT Charan. So I said, okay, then why didn't you get connected to Krishna consciousness? He said, I got connected. He said, I liked it. I was convinced about the philosophy, but I just couldn't practice. Okay. What part did you find it? He said that I was told that to practice Krishna consciousness, you should not read any books other than Prabhupada's books. He said, from the age of 7, every week I have read 2 books. There is not a single year in my life in which I have not read 100 books. And he said, these are not just like romance novels or adventure novels. This is self-help books, biography, general knowledge books. He said, I just read books. Now, read Prabhupada's books is important. But don't read other books, that's not the most important thing. Just somebody has to give up Krishna. See, in Bhakti, this is an important point. In Bhakti, there are primary principles, there are secondary principles, and there are tertiary principles. So, okay, don't read too many books, Bahashastra, Bahubhakti, Chitra, Brahma. That's true. But for different people, books are different. For some people, books are their life. They just love to read books. And for them, books are not a distraction. This is actually a part of their mental world. So don't read too many books. We don't take a vow, I will not read too many books. That's not even a secondary principle, that's a tertiary principle. So the primary principle is practice bhakti, chant Hare Krishna. Secondary principles are, there are 4 principles, stuff like that. So sometimes we may emphasize tertiary principles too much. And because of that, people may stop practicing. So sometimes everybody needs some tertiary adjustment. So now others who don't need that adjustment don't need to go there. But it's not that everybody has to adopt it all. But if that's what gives some stability in somebody's life, then there's no need to judge somebody. Okay, they are having their relationship with Krishna. They pursue their relationship. I know one devotee friend. He was the chess champion in his college, and he gave it all up and started practicing bhakti. He said after 20-25 years, he said, I started getting an urge for playing chess. I don't want to go and be a professional chess player. But he told me now, he said, if I have 1 hour for reading the Bhagavatam, if I try to read the Bhagavatam, often I feel bored, I feel distracted, I just can't focus. But I play a 10-minute timed chess match with the computer. Because that freshens me up. And after that 50 minutes when I read the Bhagavatam, I'm so focused, I'm so alert. Now, he has been practicing bhakti for 25 years. And he knows what he's doing. So, should everyone start playing chess? Well, not necessarily. But if that is what is Anukul for his bhakti, Will you remember chess at the chessboard at the time of death? Well, that's between him and Krishna. Now, if right now that level of playing chess is helping him to remember Krishna more now, then why stop him from that? So that's why the key point is that while Maya as a principle is there for everyone, the specific of what is a Maya for whom, what is a temptation, what is a distraction for whom, will vary from person to person. That's why if we emphasize too much tertiary principles, don't do this, then sometimes we may make bhakti more difficult than it needs to be for people. Thank you very much. Hare.
Hare Krishna. So thank you very much for asking those kind of very nice questions. Actually, your questions have definitely helped many, right? Some of us who could not ask or wanted to ask are still asked. The questions are there. So some of you think that you have more questions. I can tell you that there is a beautiful website called thespiritualscientist.com that Prabhuji himself, feeds into that website all his questions and answers. There are more than, I can easily say more than 1,000 questions and answers. And 6,000. 6,000 questions. And would you want to say anything on the website? Or?
Okay, so basically, when I was introduced to Bhakti, I had lots of questions. And I was fortunate that I met devotees who were not impatient with my questions. So I'm trying to share that. So there are a lot of questions that are answered. A lot of questions keep coming. I try to answer as I can. But mostly, whatever common questions that might come, generally in the spiritual part, you'll find, if not a direct answer, some answer related which will give you some insight about the question also. That's a good resource that is available. And then there is another website, geetadaily.com, where I write every day on the Bhagavad Gita. If you want to study the Bhagavad Gita more from a practical perspective, there are more than 4,500 articles over there. I've been writing one article every day for the last 12 years now, almost. So that's also a resource available. Each article is 300, 400 words, so it's easy to read in a few minutes. So both these online resources are available.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you. Yeah, so there is also ISKCON Desire Tree. You can visit ISKCON Desire Tree, Prabhuji's, and that you'll also find Prabhuji's folder there, and lots of audio files. And if you want to share an answer for a question, in this website there are also places where the answer is transcripted. You can even copy and paste and send an email, right? So there are a lot of questions, I can tell you, beyond our imagination that are already answered, solving the problems of various personalities. A lot of questions and answers on Mahabharata, Ramayana, Bhagavatam. Yeah. There are sections sorted out. Everything is properly arranged. We are yet to visit them, and actually it's once in a while you just go and read the question answers. Even though you don't have that question, still you'll be equipped by Lord Krishna to answer it somewhere else. So we are very grateful to Prabhuji for making such a resource, very unique resource within our society, which is available to the whole world. Let's thank Prabhuji with 3 loud Harikals. There are more than 30 books Prabhuji has transcribed, he has written, and right now we have around 4 of them here, and we only have a little stock. There are more than 200 devotees here. So if you want your book to be signed by Prabhuji is going to be here. Right when you announce for the lunch, whoever wants to go for the lunch can go up, remaining can make a nice line and take your books here. Prabhuji will sign. Prabhuji also has to leave, there is another program. So try to be a little quick on that. But there is limited stock, you can buy these books. I personally have read some books of Prabhuji and they are very easy to understand, very simple and very to the point and very much answering our questions. So please take them forward. It shows.
Yes. So much of what I spoke today is from this book. This is 365 Reflections for Daily Mindfulness based on the Bhagavad Gita. Each article is one page based on different words from the Gita. And the title is like a one sentence summary. And then there are some reflection questions for internalizing. There's 3 sections: nourish yourself, nourish your relationships, and nourish your devotion. The table of contents itself is around 30 pages. There are 365 articles, and each article has a descriptive item. So you could just look at whichever title interests you and you could read that. And especially what I spoke was largely from the nourish your relationships section. This is the Bhagavad Gita from an applicational perspective. And this is the Bhagavad Gita from a psychological perspective. It says, you are not your mind, you are better. There are 64 reflections on different verses of the Bhagavad Gita talk about the mind. And like I was drawing some simple diagram patterns, each article has some diagrams in 2-page article. And common challenges we face in mind management, they are explained in this book. And this is the Bhagavad Gita from a rational perspective. That in the 100 articles, again 2 pages with some diagrams. So when we read the Bhagavad Gita, a rational mind might get some questions. The Gita does us so detached. Won't that make us apathetic or irresponsible? Or like I talk about inclusive and immersive bhakti, that mentioned in this book. Or if God controls everything, do we really have free will? If the modes do everything, then why are we held responsible for our karma? So questions like this are answered in this book. This is the Gita from an inspirational perspective. 365 quotes inspired by the Bhagavad Gita. Be mindful or your mind will make you a fool. Mind your own mind before you mind other people's minds. So each of these is related to one verse from the Gita. And if you Google the quote, it will take you to gitaday.com. There is an article explaining the quote. But even without that, the quotes are self-explanatory. And this is a very accessible way to share spirituality with people who are not interested in philosophy. They may not want to read books, but anybody can just glance through some quotes. They like the quote, then that can help you trigger a spiritual discussion. You can give this as a gift, or you can keep this in your workplace desk or your home reception, and that can be a spiritual trigger. So all of these are available in a limited quantity, but we're also ordering more books. Even if we run out of stock, just give us your names, and within a week or so the books will come. Thank you very much.
We have these books right now, as I said, only 40 sets. Please take your set signed by Prabhuji, which will not be possible.
Google form link.
Yeah. So I'm going to send a form link in our group, in our WhatsApp group, where you can go ahead and order what you want, and then we will bring it for you here, so you can collect from it, right? So there are many more books. Like, oh my God, there was a movie, and there is a strong reply to everything that was created by Prabhuji. Very beautifully replied, or PK, one of the, I don't want to change so many movies.
GK for PK.
GK for PK, that was the book. So there are many books, even on DT worship and so many other books. Very small books actually, you can finish in a week or more. So they're all there. We will send the list in the form. You can go ahead and order. It's a great investment to give it to many people. I personally have given some of these books to people who are not introduced with KC. Krishna Conscious, they've taken it very nicely and they are inquisitive to know more. So you can always do that. And just a couple of announcements before we disperse, because all of you are right now here. So we have a big festival of the year coming up, Janmashtami. Haribol. Yeah, so this is the first Janmashtami of this center. And we will be letting on which day we'll be celebrating and what are the services. Please be enthusiastic to come here. Bring your friends, bring your relatives, neighbors, anybody you see to here to take darshan. And we will let you know the schedules. There are going to be Janmashtami celebrated in all other gated communities where we are preaching. And also there will be a Janmashtami that will be celebrated here. Among all of us, the core group and the nearby colony also. So we'll let you know what the dates are. Today from 3:30 onwards, we have a meeting for all the preachers. Please stay back so that we will finish all that planning purposes. And one more thing, we are starting, I've been talking about it, but we are starting from first week of September, hopefully Nityam Prashada Seva for this center from below. There will be one devotee standing and distributing prasadam to whoever comes on the road and whoever wants to grab his share every single evening from 5 o'clock to 8 o'clock. So, And devotees here can sponsor for that, whether for 1 day prasad or 10 days prasad or 1 week prasad or some special festival prasad. All this will be done. So please contact Subbarao Prabhu and Sri Gopal Prabhu. Where is Sri Gopal Prabhu? Yes, the Prabhuji is lifting his hand. If you have not seen him, lift it again. Yeah. So yeah, you can contact. So we have a perfect Agarwal to manage the cash affairs and the collection part of it. And Prabhuji will take care of collecting and expending it for Nitya Prasad Seva and also for the maintenance of the center. Prabhuji is the point of contact. Please, this is the beginning of the month. You can meet him. There is no limit to it. We can accept from 10 rupees to 10 lakhs per month. So you can go ahead and give whatever you wish. Okay, Hare Krishna. So without any more delay, I would request devotees to go up and take your prasadam. There are toilets. There is a restroom here. I'm sure many of you are waiting for quite some time. Don't go in depression. There is not only one toilet here. There are 2 more in the 3rd floor. You can also go there, and then from there you can go to the lunch. As devotees come, we can sing the Narsimha. Namaste Narasimhaya.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
भगवान की भक्त शिरोमणि प्रहलाद महाराज की ऐसी भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की चैतन्य चरण प्रभु विजिट टू भक्ति सेंटर गचिबौली की प्लीज एवरीबडी हैव योर प्रसादम. Stop it.